Always have to screw up once. Hello, everyone. I am
Hi.
Grim. Welcome to Starjump Station. Hopefully you can all hear us this time. We're coming back at you with audio this time. Sometimes that's an important part of the show. Sometimes it's not. We're going to do one whole episode where there's no audio at all.
Just kidding.
I'm making sure that happens. Thanks for joining us tonight. I am Grim, one of your four hosts. Right below me is Ender. Right below him is Starlet. And right below her is Enterprise, our special guest this week. Yeah. How are you all doing?
All things considered, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
We got our show screw up in right at the beginning, as we usually like to do. So we're trekking real well already. That usually means it's going to be a good episode. Ender, what has your week been like?
It has been long, but good. I went in for my exam today, and I'm still cancer-free, so happy for that.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Good to hear it. Starlet, how was your week?
Christmas shopping.
What'd you buy?
Suddenly Christmas is like really close.
Yeah, it snuck up on me too, especially since I was out today getting like primary kid presents that Santa was supposed to take care of. Enterprise, how are you, man? How was your week?
Oh, great, dude. Just another week of making videos and streaming and going live and being all over social media and trying to do all that I can do.
Very good, very good.
Continue climbing up those ranks,
It's
Built
always
a brand new scene, hit myself in the face with a mic stand.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff happened this week.
I've done that myself. Cool. I used to work in recording studios back in my college days, and I'm not a stranger to that. So, all right, so everyone, we got a pretty cool show tonight. It's going to be another one of our casual Starjump stations. As you all know, we have two types of shows. We say this every episode. Some of them are heavily researched, and some of them are just kind of a little bit more, we let the conversation go and diverge and kind of lead where it may, and that's what this episode is going to be on. CIG copied me and apparently have a line in on our Discord and did a year in review ISC this week, which was what we were always planning this episode to be. So I will find the leaker, whoever the leaker is, and we'll destroy them. But we're going to stay on our plan and do a 2951 year in review. There's a lot to talk about. And this is our last episode of the year. So there won't be a Starjump station the next 2 Fridays. And then we'll kick it back up in January with, a new episode, and we'll keep plugging along. So this will be our last one for the year. Obviously, myself, Ender, will still be streaming off and on. Ender probably more than any of us, and obviously Enterprise streams as well. So if you haven't checked out his channel, you need to definitely do that for both Enders. So. Before we get going here, I need to check my full screen setup because I think my camera got deleted. So we're going to check that real quick. Let me turn off the show open here. Nope, we're all there. Okay, it works. I'm switching us back over. Everyone, bear with me for a minute. I need to get a show producer. If anyone is interested in helping be a show producer for Starjump Station, reach out to us. Reach out to Ender, and Ender will kind of weed through the applicants for me, maybe. Ender, will you do that? I know I just put you on the spot.
Yeah, I'll. Do you want me to put them in the normal place, or do we want a new burial ground?
Just put them right in the trash bin.
Okay.
That's where I want all that. No, but if any of you are interested in this is a time slot that you can consistently make, and you're available like 30 minutes to an hour before, and that's something you're interested in, it may start off just someone helping Ender kind of keep an eye on chat and help moderate the show, and we'll see what other duties can kind of come online. But as we've, gotten bigger and bigger shows planned and more research that goes into them and stuff, the shows start to become quite a bit to handle, and any help would be good help. So real quick, what's that, Starlet?
We need to clone T Nightster.
Yeah, I know. We need to clone T Nightster. We need to do that. Yeah. Real quick, for everyone in chat, if this is the first time you're with us, thanks for joining us. Nideal, thanks for gifting that tier 1 sub. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Salute to everyone that's followed tonight. Really appreciate that as well. We do this show every single week. We usually will focus on a primary topic. Sometimes we focus on a bunch of topics. Tonight, again, like I said, is going to be a year in review. But if you have anything you want to add to the conversation, questions, comments, concerns, and it's about what we're currently talking about, we have a backstage area on our Discord. Just join that, which is kind of our waiting room. And when we can, Ender will grab you and pull you into the show. And, just kind of be ready with your mic unmuted and all that good stuff. You can ask your question and we'll talk about it for a minute. And then we'll put you back in the backstage. So if you have anything you want to add. Before we go into, obviously, our topic for this week, a few questions for our guest, Enterprise. Enterprise, tell us how you got into streaming. What started that?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, let's see. I've been streaming for a little over 2.5 years or so now. And to be honest, I got tired of staring at everyone's butt in my band. If I'm being clear. Like when you're the drummer in a band, you're in the back of the audience and you're lucky if you can see the audience, unless you had a bigger show, in which case. So, I was a touring drummer for the better part of like 10 to 15 years. And I had been playing in a cover band in New York City. And as my time in that cover band kind of came to a close, I had that choice that you make over and over and over again as a performer. And that's, okay, this thing is over. What's the next thing? Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to join another punk rock band. And I don't know if I want to join another working cover band. I was like, what else could I do? And I'd kind of always liked the idea of streaming. I'd always been kind of attracted to it as a concept. So I started just like getting really into it and watching a lot of other creators. And after I had enough people tell me to try it, I went for it. Specifically my students, because I've always been a music teacher at the same time.
Oh, cool.
And I had a handful of like teenage students probably back in 2016. And they were all like, hey, if you were a streamer, we'd all watch you. And then they started showing me the streamers that they like and they love. And I was like, well, I can do this. I was like, shit, I can do this better than they're doing this. So that's kind of how it slowly started.
Yeah.
And then a couple years later, a couple cameras later, more than a couple cameras later, we're here. And we're doing it to the best of our ability, 4 days a week on the Twitch platform,
Nice. Do you
so many cameras? I love it.
Yeah. It's no one could enter your domain without being seen, I'm guessing. So it kind of looks like a security camera setup. I need something like that.
Yeah. That one's up here.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, that's the security cam.
So you're hailing from New York City then, right?
Yes, I live in Brooklyn, New York now.
Cool. What part of Brooklyn are you in?
I live in the Bedford-Stuyvesant area.
Yeah. Very familiar with it. I lived in Brooklyn for a long time too, kind of over in the Prospect Park area and then Williamsburg area for a bit. I lived in Williamsburg though when it was dangerous, I can proudly say. When you really couldn't walk
there. Before the Apple Store?
Yeah, and
before the Apple Store was there?
Way before the Apple Store was there. The only thing there of note was abandoned warehouses to get robbed in and a Pan-Asian fusion restaurant. And that was pretty much it. That was and maybe one cheese shop. That was it.
Williamsburg's going to have so many cheese shops now. It's like one of the most expensive parts of the city to live in, rivaling Manhattan real estate.
Yeah, it does. And then I lived in Lower East Side for a little bit, and then I finally moved up to the Astoria area and did my last 7-8 years in New York in Astoria, which I did fall in love with till everyone moved there. But yeah, I lived in New York myself for a long time, probably 17 years or so. So I do miss it. I do miss it. What got you into Star Citizen? And also like Star Citizen streaming. Was Star Citizen a streaming thing, or were you playing it before you started streaming?
No. I really didn't get into PC gaming until about 2015. Mm-hmm. I was always a console gamer. And as touring became more and more important to me and I was on the road more and more, all of my consoles started to die out and get really obsolete. Like all of a sudden it's 2015 and my only console is an original Xbox, like, and handheld stuff. So I was like looking into the game market again, and I realized I was more drawn to some indie games that were coming out, specifically this indie game called FTL. I don't know if you know that one, Faster Than Light.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So I was like, what is this game? It looks so cool. And a friend of mine was like, yeah, it's a Steam game. And I was like, what's that? They're like, oh, it's like a platform. You download the game. So I'm like, on a computer? So I started getting into playing games on a computer. And then I just moved to New York and I was kind of a little more stationary. I was now looking for that cover band I talked about and not touring. And I started getting really into computers, and I just like did the deep dive on the YouTubes, watching every Jay's 2 Cent video, every Linus Tech Tips video, like learning about PCs, and built my first gaming PC. Then the first game that was like, here's a game that would never exist on console, at least in my brain at that time, was Elite Dangerous. And I really got into Elite, and that was my first favorite game as an adult. So getting into space sims, full HOTAS setup. And then when I started streaming Elite and getting more known for that in that community. And then my love for that game started diminishing quite a bit, especially over like probably 2020, right? I started liking the game less. And that's when, I was like, hey, why don't I go back and look at that other game I considered back in 2015?
So you're kind of part of that exodus that really happened over the last 2 years, where more and more Elite players are coming to Star Citizen. I do count myself one of them. I originally played Elite for a while. Nothing too serious. I was not like, I wasn't huge into it, but I definitely played it. I had a lot of friends. I don't know if you have any friends at Rockstar in New York, but the game company there. But there was like a big group within Rockstar that played Elite. That was like their game, and they would always get together for these Elite sessions, and I would try to join them. But yeah, there was something about Elite that just could not grab me, though. I don't know what it was.
Like that was my game. It was the first time I was like, hey, I love this game. Wow.
Yeah.
I was like talking the ear off of all my bandmates. And then I started looking into Star Citizen in probably the summer of like 2020, right? Summer of 2020, I started being like, hey, what's this game? Maybe I should start playing this game, right? Or is it 2019? I can't do math. Whatever. I started getting into the game, and then I just abandoned Elite completely, and this kind of became my go-to space game. And I've been completely engorged, if you will, in the Star Citizen universe for about a full year now.
Okay.
For over a year.
So this is really the perfect episode for you then, because this being the year in review, this is kind of your Star Citizen experience up to now.
Exactly.
Okay. Great. See, I knew this was important to have you on this episode. I highly considered like, oh, we'll have him on in January. That'd be cool. And I said, you know what? No, let's do it on our last episode. So cool. I think that'll play well. It'd be interesting to get your opinion as someone just coming into the game. For about the last 12 months. Me and Ender, it's been about has it been 2 years at this point, Ender? A year and
just about
almost 2 years, and then
just about.
And then Starlet, when did you start playing again?
2018, 19, I think.
Okay, about the same amount of time. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. Well, let's once again, thanks Enterprise for joining us tonight. It's going to be really interesting to get your opinion on some of this stuff. And if you're coming over, if you're in our chat and you're from Enterprise's community, thank you for joining us tonight. We welcome you, obviously. You may see a couple of emotes just posted by Driz Taloth down there in the chat. May have some surprises a little bit later, though, at the end of the show, if you do like emotes and you want to stick around. Real quick, there was a roadmap roundup this past week. Nothing of note. It's honestly one of the biggest things I wait for, that bi-monthly kind of roadmap roundup. I like to see what the updates are to the roadmap. Unfortunately, it was another one that had no big movements or no big changes or anything too exciting. The only thing I did want to point out with it, and this probably will affect some things I could see with ships specifically. If you're a ship nerd like me, the vehicle tech team, which is an upstream team, got turned into a downstream team. So their work now is only going to be planned out for 1 quarter instead of 3 or 4 quarters because they're more reactive. So they need to take what has been finished and work on that for a quarter to kind of get it ready for flight ready typically. I think if you check their work right now on the progress tracker, they're like doing the final touches to the hull C and stuff like that. But they're being moved to a downstream team, so we won't get as many updates to what they're doing. That may make it a little bit more difficult to figure out where ships are in the pipeline and maybe when they're going flight ready. But that's about the only notable change in the roadmap roundup. Last but not least, before we go into the main topic, usually at the end of the show, we do talk about our charity initiatives. But Ender, I wanted to give you a little bit of a moment here at the beginning of the show to kind of recap Movember and tell everyone how that went. Right up here at the head of the show as we're getting viewers, and then we'll touch base on it again at the end. But by the looks of you, it went well.
I think it went okay. I had an initial goal of $100, and I started streaming our D&D game the first day that I had set it up and started it, and we hit it within 2 minutes. And then it's gotten crazy from there. We had a member of the community decide to donate a Misk Odyssey to us for a giveaway. And I decided that if we hit $1,000, I would shave my head. And then we hit $1,000, $2,500 total earned because of the amazing community, not just the Starjump community, but the Star Citizen community as a whole.
Yeah, it's a very giving community.
And really helped out so much and made it just a really successful Movember. We raised a lot of money for men's mental health and for testicular and prostate cancer specifically. So really excited.
Very cool. And kind of going on and tell the ship that you gave away and who won it.
So we gave the Misk Odyssey away. We ended up having a total of, I think, 70 tickets.
Wow.
I did place a low figure on my head, Elsie, but I kind of underestimated everybody from the get-go by setting $100 goal. So I figured I would just keep underestimating. But Green, good Lord, sorry, Green River Griff. Green, why am I having so much trouble right now? Green Water Griff. Sorry, Griff. It's been a long day already.
Green River.
Yeah, so dumb. So dumb. Green Water Griff was the one that won.
Awesome.
The
Congrats.
Misk Odyssey.
That's a big win.
It is. It is. And for such an awesome, like him and Lisa have been members of the community for a very short time. But they are awesome, awesome people. Actually, yeah. Grim, I did want to share a compliment from Griff that was given to me last night. He asked if either of us had ties to movie and film because we did such a good job of getting our shots last night. He figured we must be in the business. So
I am in the business. If you're interested a little bit in my history, I do briefly talk about it on the Soul Citizens episode that was a week or two ago. I think it was called the Cinemakers. They had myself on and the makers of Adrift and the makers of Overclocked and Zark Media. And they talked to us a little bit about that, and I give a little bit of a brief history of my film and TV background. So, yeah. Cool. Well, that's exciting. That's really cool, Ender. I have good word and have it on good authority that Driz, your wife, is in love with the new do, wants to keep it. So let's keep those charities rolling in. Let's keep this man bald, and let's shoot to get that beard shaved off too, so he'll just look like a big old baby. All right, so
Can we just hit the stretch goal for the full wax?
I think he needs a full wax, full body wax.
Ouch.
Yeah, it needs to happen at some point. It's going to cost a lot of money, but hey, sometimes that's what you got to do. All right, we're going to go ahead and dive into the whole year in review thing because there's quite a bit to cover. We can diverge if we need to. If we get off topic, that's totally fine. This is more just a casual, chill episode to kind of talk about what Star Citizen has been for the past 12 months. And then at the very end, we'll talk about and get everyone's opinion on where we'd like to see it go next year and what we'd like to see, what milestones we would like to see happen, what's important to us individually, and maybe what's important to us or what's important to the game as a whole in the community. So I'm going to switch us over here. I've got some accompanying visuals to go with some of this stuff that I'll just let play as we talk about those things. But first and foremost, let's just kind of go down the row here. Enterprise, what just is, top level, nothing too specific. How has the last year of Star Citizen been for you?
Oh, I mean, as you said, it's the perfect episode for me because I've really only had just barely over a full year in this game. Mm-hmm. And it's been really amazing to see a game change so much. Mm-hmm. I would say that as someone who's newer to the game, I have never seen a game change as much in 1 year as Star Citizen has.
Yeah. And it's this year has been, and we'll kind of go through this with some of our stuff, but there's been some pretty big, drops on some of the patches that have really changed the game, kind of moving forward and really changed it for a lot of people. So
it's already changed the way I play the game.
Yeah. Starla, what about you? What's been your kind of summary of the last year? How do you feel like it's been?
I think it's been a strange year. I think we were expecting a whole bunch of things last year to happen this year, and they never happened. So we never got super meshing. We never got a bunch of stuff that we were super excited about. But we got so many things that we weren't expecting at the same time. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit strange. But I think the roadmap that Jake did last year has made this year work really well. And everyone is a bit more comfortable about what's happening and what's ahead. And kind of all the salt's kind of gone away around that. It's really nice.
And it's been a great year. Yeah, and that roadmap has really been kind of something that has both taken away some of the surprises that we get dropped on us and then still slipped us up a little bit because CIG, even though there is a roadmap and they say everything is on it, that's obviously not true. And there's stuff that is not on the roadmap that gets dropped on us. So
it's a great balance though, because software development is quite hard. And planning further and further ahead is very hard at the beginning of a project. Not that this is the beginning, but early days when things are changing a lot, it's so hard to plan and forecast ahead. It's a good balance.
Yeah. Ender, how about you? What do you kind of summarize the last 12 months of Star Citizen? How do you summarize it?
Even though there were some disappointments for a lot of people, I still only saw so much promise out of everything that they were working towards getting.
Yeah.
So for me, it just super exciting, and just a promising year for the future.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, I think that's kind of my takeaway is it does feel like some of the stuff that was released this year in the patches, and we'll go through some of these, but namely things like medical and looting and stuff like that, and like the introduction of iCache and stuff like that. Though it's like the window blinds have been cracked open a little bit to what that Chris Roberts' vision is, and some of the stuff they dropped, especially the medical system, are realizations to the fact that the ultimate game that Star Citizen is going to be in the future is going to be very different than what we've had for the past going all the way back now to, I would say 2016, where Star Citizen really started getting its legs. So let's go ahead and start just kind of running through. Again, if you watch the ISC this week, CIG released, you're going to know a lot of these events because they are kind of the milestone things. We may skip a couple of them. We may talk about some things that they didn't. But again, just bear with us. If you have any comments or want to add any things, just jump into the backstage and Ender will get to you. But one of the first things that happened in January was the Daymar Rally. Again, some of this footage here is from the ISC. Special thanks to Uncle Funk, who is also a friend of Starjump. So I've had many conversations with them. Great people. But let's hand it over. I'm going to go with you, Ender. What's your thoughts on the Daymar Rally?
Which Ender? Is it me?
You, Ender. I'm going to call him Enderprize, and you're Ender.
I know it's confusing, dude. I'm just wait.
I love the idea of these rallies. Somebody coming up with this and really putting it together and getting it shot the way they did is amazing.
Yeah. The logistics involved are crazy.
They are. The amount of people that they require, it's insane. And people are getting really good at driving these rallies.
Yeah.
And just I'm pretty excited about seeing what more comes with this.
Enterprise, you had something?
Oh yeah, I was going to say I think the Daymar Rally is really cool. As an outsider, looking into it, for me, when the Daymar Rally happened, I'd only been in the game for a few months, and I was startled by it. Mm-hmm. And then when I watched it, I was like, yeah, this is really, really cool. I would not want to do this while streaming and trying to put on a show. Like, if I was not a streamer, dude, I would love it. I think that's to be like a really cool thing. But the technical and logistical cat herding that has to happen in all of those Discord calls to make any of it a reality has got to be insane.
Oh yeah, I mean, and the Atmo crew does a fantastic job doing this, and I don't even want to call out, even though I know some of them pretty closely now. I don't even want to call out individuals because I know that the entire group effort. I wouldn't want to miss names and stuff. They just did an amazing job doing this. I mean, the big news for the Daymar Rally, I think, is that it's been made canon by CIG.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Which is definitely really cool. I hope that we see more of that type of stuff. And to me, the Daymar Rally is a great piece of I'd say like advertising, marketing, and PR for CIG. And if there's a way they could help prop some of this stuff up beyond just the community kind of bringing it up, I think would be great, because things like this, I think, sincerely would bring people into the game. Just the fact that they see that these community events can be propped up in such a way, and when we're dealing with a game that doesn't have tons and tons of game loops in it, when you have players creating great game loops like this, it's just really impressive. So hats off to that team. Starlet, do you have any thoughts on the Daymar Rally?
I mean, my own experience with the Daymar Rally is on security, and there's because of the nature of it, we're not supposed to. I'm not doing it anymore, so I can say, I guess, but we're not supposed to disclose that we're on security. We'll get followed or friended, or people will kind of work out how to jump on our servers for the next Daymar Rally. So it's all got to be super hush hush, and people can't really talk about it. But the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes that no one sees is quite amazing.
Yeah,
there's many people working to try and keep the race on track, and it's what blows my mind is actually how fierce sometimes the people are who want to disrupt this rally that you never even see because security has a handle on it. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, and as frustrating as I'm sure that can be for the organizers, ultimately that's part of the Star Citizen dream, right? Is that because we're all in the same world and we all have the freedom to do what we want, there needs to be counters to everything. So the fact that there can be like a player run security element is kind of cool, you know what I mean? And it pushes them to be almost elite level because they don't want to disrupt this event. So those security people really need to be on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, I would love to be a part of this event in some way, but
Yeah.
not officially representing a team. Like, I'd love to be the representative for the like inept security, where I just like
Yeah.
drive by on a dragonfly, and I'm like a citizen, pull over, and then I explode in a big fireball, and then they're like, "Well, that was Enterprise. See you later."
Yeah.
Like, that would be beautiful for me, and that's all I need.
I would definitely hold the shortest, the shortest and fastest record for flipping a vehicle and destroying it. So that would, yeah. Maybe Starjump can sponsor a racing team next year or something. I don't know. We'll have to look into that.
Good idea.
All right, moving on from the Daymar Rally. This one was kind of a big. It actually wasn't an addition. It was a removal, and that was the removal of Levski and Delamar from the Stanton system. As we all know, it's not supposed to be in Stanton system. I think it was there just for the original proof of concept when they were building the Stanton system out. The moon Delamar actually belongs in the Nix system. I forget what planet Delamar is a moon of. Maybe someone in chat knows. I believe Delamar's. Yeah, you did pull up that star map, but I believe Delamar is a moon of a Nix, one of the Nix planets. So it's not even an actual planet in the Nix system. But as we know, if you've been following the progress tracker, not only is Pyro in heavy development that we'll see next year, but Nix is in heavy development. I think they're even doing mission stuff for Nix already. I think a lot of the planets are well into their development. Planets and moons and spacescaping, I think, for Nix is already on the progress tracker. So it's very likely we could get Nix at the same time we get Pyro. We really don't know. But if not when Pyro releases, then I think very soon after. And what will be interesting to see with Pyro and Nix is when Pyro does release, it'll be interesting to see how quick Nix comes, because I wonder if CIG is going to start to try to establish a cadence with systems. We know they got that new team that's there to build systems, and it'll be interesting to see if we're going to get new system. Once Pyro comes on, are new systems like once a year thing, or are they 3 times a year? Just figuring out what that cadence is. I'm sure it will get faster, but hopefully, that cadence is short, but not so short that we never really get a sense to explore the system we're in. However, some systems are pretty barren, so I could see some of those barren systems will get maybe 2 at a time or something like that going forward. Any of you have thoughts on losing Levski? It was actually my favorite landing zone, Enterprise.
Yeah. I agree. It was a very cool landing zone.
Yeah.
I thought it represented one of the easiest and quickest get a vehicle, put it on your ship locations in the game.
Yeah. Yep.
As someone who likes that aspect of the game, as that's like something that, especially at the time that this happened, that was still like a really fresh bubble idea in my brain. I'm like, oh, put all the vehicles on my ship.
Vehicles within vehicles, yeah.
I still like that, but right there, I was like, oh, this is the fastest and the easiest.
Yeah.
However, when it went away, it did make it easier for me to not confuse Daymar and Delamar. That became way easier. So
yeah,
there's a positive right there.
Well, we know Levski as a landing zone will be undergoing pretty heavy changes. The CIG's made that clear. So obviously expect when it does return, when the Nix system is released, it's really going to probably be a pretty new experience to go check it out. So for those of you that missed it or didn't get to catch Levski the first time, if you're new to Star Citizen, it was a really cool landing zone. There was, I think on the moon itself, they had these like exhaust towers that would shoot out fire and stuff. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, visually beautiful.
Yeah, visually
Love
very
those
beautiful.
planes.
Yeah. Starlet, Ender, anything on Levski before we move on?
And outside the radar area, right? The monitoring area. So it's a bit of a more of a PvP area. There were some fun times around. What was the Vandal Mask event and things? There was a whole lot of silliness around there that was quite player driven but fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. That place was weird for me, but I have memories of starting Star Citizen in Port Olisar, and they're really good memories. But the memories early on of Levski We're pretty buggy.
Yeah.
not that fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing it back all fixed up.
Yeah. Cool. Well, go ahead, Ender.
I missed the air traffic controller from there.
Yeah.
All the other ones had no, I don't know, feeling to them. They were just robots. But
Oh, didn't they
the
scream? What
one
was it? What
there,
was the Levski one? Didn't they scream at you or something? I can't remember.
no, he was just
Was it?
super nice and the most chill, relaxed dude.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, "Yeah, come on in. We're happy
Yeah.
to have you back. Welcome back." It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Grimhex is the one that they scream at you.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
it screams at you.
Yeah.
And that guy in the shop is such a jerk. It's
Oh,
the
God.
worst. He's hearing
Oh.
over your shoulder complaining
Yeah.
the whole time
So
you're there. I just
angry.
mute the game at that. Every time I get
Puffing
there, I
and
mute it.
puffing. He's
Just like
just
that.
like,
Yeah.
just leave. Just go. Damn, dude.
So next we had, moving on into February, we had the release of patch 3.12. 3.12 brought the first iteration of Xenothreat. Ender, I'd like to hear from you first on that. I know me and you played a lot of Xenothreat, that first version, and we were doing a lot of that tractor beam cargo stuff during that event. But what was your opinion and experience on that?
I really loved seeing the community as a whole, the servers completely get together for one cause and working together for a singular end goal. Uh, the entire event was extremely fun to me. And it kind of allowed us to do not just single fighter stuff, but this is where really the the ship with multi crew was able to really shine quite a bit because you had hammerheads fully stocked, running around with people, destroying just everything that moved.
Yeah.
And it was really nice to see that happening in our servers again, without it being somebody just going around torturing people for fun.
Yeah. Starlet, as a fellow capital ship lover, I know you like the big ships. Obviously, this was a patch that brought on board, actually dealing with an Idris in game officially, and our first kind of peek at capital ship AI behaviors. Obviously, it was pretty rough when they first released it. But what was your thought of finally seeing some of that larger scale? I wouldn't call it fleet action, but some of that larger scale ship to ship action going on.
It was amazing, wasn't it? Because it kind of realized some of the vision of what that might look like. And everyone was so excited about it. We all got in and gave it a good shot. I think I was frustrated that they missed the mark with capital ships, and they made them. They went from being so apparently so powerful in Ivakati that it would take 50 people and they still couldn't kill it, to being nearly one shot. So they've really missed the mark, I think, with the balancing of that. But as an event with friends, it was super fun, and they did a great job in general.
Yeah. And I think that is something that we're going to see a lot of shifting on as they go through a lot of these weapon rebalances that they've been doing over the course of this year. As they start to figure out what size weapons do what size damage, and they rework shields a little bit this year. We still got armor and breakability come on board, so there's still going to be lots of room for, I would say, pretty large swings in capital ship. Durability and all that. So I think ultimately, I still think CIG's goal of making something like an Idris or a Javelin especially, but even let's just say the Idris because I think it'll be a little bit more common. I think their goal is to really make that a large scale kind of boss level event. But we'll see where they go. I just think there's going to be a pretty wide range of movement in terms of the numbers on those things, and once more of these systems come on board, like armor and all that stuff. I think armor and breakability, by the way, or no, physical damage and breakability just finished on the progress tracker last week, I believe. I think it was last week, or 2 weeks ago. So now that, who knows when it will actually get into the game, but that stuff did finish on the progress tracker. Before we go to you, Enterprise, I wanted to bring up a couple of other things that popped up in the 3.12 patch. We got our first spacescaping, so the nebulas and stuff, which really changed the visual appearance of Star Citizen, which I actually think was kind of a help to streaming in general. It made everything not just a black void. We had some planetary improvements. We got our refinery decks, which had gameplay associated with them. We got our first iteration of the reputation system, mining UI refactor, countermeasures redone. So there's kind of a lot of stuff like that, and a lot of little things that have actually become, I think, pretty helpful, like vehicle entry identification, etc. So, Ender, what was your thought on 3.12? Were you playing during the 3.12 patch, the first Xenothreat release? Okay.
Oh yeah. That was my 4th month in the game at that point.
Yeah. Any memories of that?
Oh, totally. For me, this was a patch all about visual fidelity and exciting future gameplay.
Yeah.
The first time I saw an Idris explode, I was blown away.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's a clip of it somewhere on my channel of my natural reaction to yes, because it has that very Star Warsian Death Star thing happening.
Yeah.
This game does explosions so well. It's so over the top. It's beautifully stupid. Those Lagrange clouds, as you said, look really good.
Yeah.
Having that different color pop was great. Really good for screenshots. Really good for making people look at this game a lot. And then, of course, the big battle. The first time I went into battle to fight an Idris was with a friend of mine's org, and we had, I think, 3 or 4 streamers team up with their org, and our total number was somewhere in the 40s of people.
Mm-hmm.
So we were almost a full server versus an Idris with 3 full hammerheads, and it was all this build up, and then it was the buggiest, desynkiest nightmare of a gameplay loop. We were all just oh my God, I think I'm shooting it. Who am I? Am I shooting you? Am I shooting it? Who's on first? And then we kind of broke it down into smaller groups, and it was actually really fun. But I think that's what I mean by it was that taste of what is going to start happening,
Hey,
so
Ender,
those are all wins in my book.
Yeah.
All wins.
Ender, do we have a question?
We do. So Bourbon actually asked, for Enterprise, from your first year playing, did you start off loving a certain class of ship, small, medium, large? And did that opinion change throughout your experience?
Let's see. Yeah, the first kind of ship I fell in love with in this game were the multi-crew turret experiences. Because remember, coming at this game from Elite Dangerous, I tried to make that game into the multi-crew turret battle experience that it never was meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I got in a hammerhead in this game with 6 other people, I completely freaked out and flipped out. And I was like, yes, this is what I want to do in this game. And that's actually why every single Thursday night I host an event called Multi-Crew Madness on my Twitch channel. And the whole point of it is anyone that shows up at 6 p.m. Eastern time can jump in the game with us, hop in our server and play. And we just get on ships and go crew up all the biggest and best ships in the game. Sometimes we go mining. Sometimes we go fighting. Sometimes we see how many dragonflies can fit on a C2. It's roughly 18 or something. They can fit a lot of them in there.
And that is kind of one of the things about Star Citizen that I think hooks players. One of the first things that hooks them is the idea that the game is so beautiful if you can run it. And then the next thing that hooks them is that they can go inside their ship. That seems to be a big moment that you can then explore your ship, the ships that have those interiors. And then I think the other top three thing that makes people stop and go wow when talking about Star Citizen is that moment where you finally multi-crew a ship in some way, even if it's just pilot and someone in the turret. But I know me and Ender had that same thing when we very first pledged for the game. I think we got into a freelancer or something, and we were both sitting in the pilot and co-pilot seats, and we had our track IR setups on, and we were able to look over and see each other sitting at the cockpit together. It was just one of those moments where you go, "Wow, that's
So
cool."
awesome.
I'm not doing anything right now, but this is really cool. So
I would add to that scale. So running
Scale,
around
yeah.
a port, first person, jumping in a Pisces and zipping around in a little ship. It's really fun. Suddenly you can dock in a Carrack and you're in a giant ship, or in an 890 and you're in sort of a capital ship. And it's the scale. You can move this entire level around the map and use it like you would a small ship. It's just
And
crazy.
the scale's still something that gets me to this day. Honestly, there's still moments where I'm like, "Wait, what?" We were just shooting some of Starjump Chronicles the other night, and I had my Carrack parked next to a space station, and I had EVA'd away from it, and it looked small. And I kept thinking, man, it's so weird that ship contains an entire interior with, bathroom, store, habs. It's got a mess hall, cartography, all this stuff. It's like it doesn't seem like it gets so little, but that sense of scale is so crazy in Star Citizen.
Oh yeah,
higher game level you can move.
Yeah,
I think that's also why I got so hooked in those bigger multi-crew ships.
Yeah,
is that attention to nuance and detail and size of everything. That like you are a person, no matter what you do in Star Citizen, you're always a being, a humanoid being, at least for now, humanoid.
A fragile
You're
humanoid
not a
being.
ship.
Yeah.
You're not a vehicle. You are you.
Yeah.
Whether you're clipping through an elevator or you're sitting in a ship, you're always a fleshy humanoid.
Yeah.
And I like that aspect of the game a lot.
Yeah. And real quick, I'm not sure exactly which patch cycle because I don't have it highlighted on my year in review notes. But one of the things we did get more work on and more updates on in this past 12 months were operator roles, the operator things where, I think it was missile operator mode, and they worked on the turret one, and there's more planned. We all know that. We know there's going to be like an engineer operator mode and all this stuff. Again,
I can't wait for all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the operator modes are key to really having that multi-crew experience, that Star Trek experience. Hopefully, that comes on board.
More jobs,
more jobs,
more jobs for the crew,
and hopefully,
the more jobs for the crew, the more people on the ship.
Yeah, and hopefully that will come with things like payment systems and stuff like that. Ender, I know we have someone in backstage, and we want to bring them up.
We do. Okay. Hi, Graybeard. How are you?
Hey.
Hello, hello.
Be quiet.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going all right. Just listening to y'all talking about the multi-crew. I had my first experience in multi-crewing just a couple weeks ago in Star Citizen. What a blast.
Yeah. What ship were you in?
I think we was in a Hammerhead.
Yeah. And that's another one. Go ahead.
And I was a turret operator.
Yeah. That's another one of the ships that, much like the Redeemer and other ships, if you can get it fully crewed and fully working and everyone's on point, that ship's, the threat level of that ship becomes a lot more real, and it almost elevates the value of that ship in a way, again, just by having it fully crewed. So,
yeah, I think we was also using the Redeemer. I don't remember now what we were using, but that was like, I think Enderprise said that we didn't have that kind of experience in Elite Dangerous.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you, we got it all over Elite Dangerous. I'm sorry to say I'm being biased here, but for me, that first experience of being a multi-crew Star Citizen, I had a ball.
Yeah. Well, it's cool to hear you had that great experience. I mean, I think a lot of people are that is something that grabs them. And once more of those operator modes come on board, especially I think when you can have someone be a navigator or an engineer or some of those more passive roles, because not everyone's a turret gunner or likes combat. I think once those operator modes come on, we're going to see kind of a new explosion in people coming to Star Citizen. So,
I
um,
think I think probably one of the other things that we got to remember also is that you got people like me who, and I just started back in, I think it was May of this year,
mhm,
and it's a bit overwhelming, but I'm getting into it more and more.
yeah. Well,
But I
that
think hopefully that we'll be able to do more multi-crewing and, and doing some of the other background work, like the engineers,
yeah.
navigator, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, and as we know, I mean, one of the things I think that's going to start hitting us pretty hard come cargo refactor time is not even roles on a ship, but just friends to help you do things like load a ship full of cargo. That stuff's going to be key, especially if it's a large ship and you need to put even something like 600 SCU of stuff in a ship. That's going to be something where you need your friends, you need those people to help you out. So yeah, it's cool to hear you had that experience. Sounds like you just kind of came into the game in May. So obviously
I
this
I
episode's
came
perfect for
in
you.
I came in about a month after Odyssey dropped in Elite Dangerous.
Oh, okay. And yeah, I
But
think we saw a lot of elite players come over after the Odyssey
Yeah.
expansion
Devil,
or
Oh yeah, the
yeah.
Exodus, as I
the
like to refer to
Exodus.
it.
The
So,
Odyssey
Oh,
Exodus.
dude, I mean, I'll tell you, as a streamer who was playing that game, everything about playing Star Citizen changed when that moment happened. Because if we go back in time to like before Odyssey was out, those like 4 or 5 months when I was playing the game, I'd have to just fight against elite like people in the chat, like
yeah,
calling out the game for all of the reasons that you would call out a game that's still in development and can buy ships and all that stuff. And
yeah,
then when the bomb dropped and everything settled and everyone was like, wait a minute, is Odyssey not the best game in the world? Is it
yeah,
not a complete game? Like, did they not tell me what was going to happen to my beloved game? What, like,
yeah,
then everything changed. And like, I didn't have to just argue with people anymore. I like had people showing up
yeah,
asking me questions about how to get into the game, how to like, can I run it? Can I do this? Can I do that? And it really, the landscape changed drastically
yeah.
in the chat of streamers.
Yeah, and I think it took some of the win. First off, Graybeard, thanks for coming on into
Yep.
backstage and giving us your
Thanks
opinion.
so
We
much,
really
David.
appreciate it. Salute to you. Again, it takes a lot for people sometimes to get in the backstage channel and come on the show with your voice. I know a lot of people don't like doing that, but thank you for coming on board and lending your voice. One thing I'll say about that, and we do got to kind of move on to other things, but obviously the big patch releases are going to be big talking points. But what I think that the Odyssey expansion did is it took a little bit of wind out of the sails of that old argument that we've heard a lot where Star Citizen's taken forever to develop. Why doesn't CIG just do things like the Elite Dangerous devs did them? And what we saw was that doing them in that other way didn't make for a great game experience. And that's not to say CIG hasn't made mistakes or development mistakes or bad decisions. Someone who's started 3 companies at this point, I can tell you every company makes mistakes and has development problems and makes wrong business decisions. I mean, I don't think there's any company in the world that has made all good decisions all the time. And if you've ever started a business, that will be something you realize quite quickly. And for a company of CIG's size, the fact that there's not more bad decisions being made and what's crazy is after all this time they're actually growing, which is incredible. Again, it's what it showed was all those people that were like, man, this game's forever in development. What it showed them is a different path of development for this same sort of experience didn't work. Again, I think we saw a lot of those people kind of exodus from Elite and come over, or at least try Star Citizen, and at the very least, if not like fully invest in the Star Citizen, they at least maybe understood it a little bit more. And I'm saying that as someone who does appreciate Elite. You know what I mean? I appreciate what it's doing in the game space.
And it's still an important game to be out there. Like,
absolutely.
It actually runs. Well, parts of it are tricky to run, but it does run smooth for the most part.
Yeah.
Without a multi-$1,000 rig that still can't give more than 30 frames at Origin.
Yeah. All right, we got one more person. Oh, go ahead, Starlet.
Just one VR in Star Citizen, please.
Yeah.
I mean, but you can get close to it with
I would love to talk about VR later. I have opinions on that, but we'll put a pin in
when
it.
we get to the end of the show, there's going to be a segment for that. We're gonna move off of 312 because we got to get through the rest of the year. But we have one more person in backstage, right, Ender?
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Hi, Madam Suna.
Hello.
Suna.
Hello. Thanks for joining us, Madam Suna. What's on your mind tonight?
I actually joined your channel because of the best streamer in the world, Enterprise.
Yep, agreed.
I am part of his crew. He actually has a really big following. We do a lot of stuff together, and we're here to. Well, they're in the chat. They're in his channel right now. We're all trying to support him.
Well, thank you for supporting it, and thank you for showing up to our channel so that we could shine a spotlight on him. ENDERPRIZE is definitely someone I've been keeping an eye on. If any of you all familiar with the Aegis 2951 cinematic that I did last year, I think Execute was reaching out to people that he knew really deserved a little bit of a wink and a nod. And you know, when we were putting content creators' names on ships, I told Execute, I was like, I just want to do people that are cool people, and Enterprise was definitely on the list. I think
Gladius.
I think you got on a Gladius. Yep, that's right. That's right. But yeah, fully agree with you, Madam Suna.
So that worked out well.
Yeah, absolutely. Madam Suna, anything on 312, or just is that it?
I'm actually, I worked it out the other day. I'm only 6 months into Star Citizen, so I am like super new.
Oh,
and
wow.
You wouldn't know it. You would think I'm a pro the way I talk about Star Citizen and all the stuff and the shenanigans we get up to. I seem to find a lot of the special features of Star Citizen. I'm pretty notorious for it, actually. But as it's going so far, I'm only 6 months in, and I'm all about Star Citizen. It is one of the most fantastic games I've ever played. The scenery is breathtaking. Like, you can just go and chase the sunset and take pictures one day, or you can go kill an Idris. I mean, there's like so much stuff, so much content.
And isn't that kind of cool? Because I do think that's one thing about Star Citizen that you really don't hear about a lot of other games. I'm not saying you don't hear about it, but we're talking about a game that's still very much in alpha, still very frustrating to play, but there's some magic about it that grabs people that is really, really cool. And it's different things for different people, but you do hear a lot of the same things that are brought up as well. But yeah, there's some sort of magic in the sauce, and that goes a long way, because I think that's also part of the reason why we pledge and why we put real dollars to this game, sometimes exorbitantly so, because we see glimmers of hope and glimmers of the dream sort of shine through every now and then, in which we know this is eventually going to be a great game, something that is truly, like no other in the industry. So anything else from anyone before we move off of 312? Madam Suna, thank you for coming on, by the way. Giving Enterprise his props. We really appreciate him taking the time to come on board with us tonight and be a guest host. So thank you for swinging over and bringing a little bit of the Enterprise community over to the Starjump community. We really appreciate that. So
because Suna does some great fan art as well.
Very cool.
About the game. She put a painting of I want to say a Carrick in our channel the other day.
Oh, nice. I'm going to have to check that out. As a creative person, I'm all about this stuff. So real quick, thanks again, Madam Suna. Really appreciate it. Salute to you. One last thing I will add about 312 that we actually didn't bring up that is pretty important, because I think it played a lot into the Xenothread event, was the first time we got tractor beams. We got the tractor beam attachment for the multi-tool. So that was kind of a big deal. I have a lot of fun with that, and it's actually pretty helpful when we do our Starjump Chronicles records. So All right, we are going to move on, though. We guys still have a lot of stuff to cover. So we did talk a little bit about reputation. We got our first little bits of reputation in patch 3.12. I don't think it was the first release. I think it was a 3.12.x release, but reputation played a big role. We've only seen it kind of working in bits and pieces at this stage, but again, it hints to the future of. And it's interesting seeing those common gameplay systems start to make their way into Star Citizen. We're going to kind of move on from reputation, though, on a couple smaller things here. There was in February as well, there was the Red Festival, which I didn't participate at all in, or I don't remember it happening. I know they released these skins, which
Best paint jobs. So good.
Actually do look pretty cool. And I'm kind of like, man, I don't own either one of those ships, but they're actually pretty cool paint jobs.
I did a couple stream. Me and my partner Nidell, we did a couple stream just to fly these 2 ships around.
Oh, cool. Okay. Were these the only 2 ships that got that skin?
Yes. Yep. Damn. It was just these 2.
Those are pretty cool. I would have liked a Cuddy Black skin with that. So that was the Red Festival. I guess that happens every February, so we're going to get to do that again here in just a matter of a couple months. The next one, though, I think we can talk a little bit about. Oh, real quick. Sorry, there was another 3.12 thing that I wanted to bring up before we get too far along. Two ships went flight ready in the initial 3.12 patch, and that was the Talon and the Talon Shrike. I'll go ahead and speak to those a little bit, and then Ender, I want to get your opinion on those. I love the Talon. I think it's one of the coolest looking ships in the game, but I have a real problem with it. And I don't have much of an issue with the way CIG prices ships, pledges ships, and all that. I think that's all fine. It's how we develop the game. Or how they're developing the game. It's how the game is funded. Fully fine with it. I don't care that a Kraken is $1,400, whatever. You're not forced to buy it. The Talon and the Talon Shrike to me, though, represent something that I personally wish CIG would stop doing, which is make 2 variants of a ship that have a very minor difference. The Talon,
I'll agree with that.
Yeah, the Talon was more like gun heavy, while the Shrike had more missiles. I do think that's a little different than the current situation with the Ares, because those are ships built around a unique gun. But even with the Ares, I feel like the guns should be interchangeable personally. But Ender, let me hand it over to you. What are your thoughts on the Talon and the Talon Shrike, which were released in the 3.12 patch?
I'm with you. I really feel like they were interchangeable. I like the Talon quite a bit. It's a great fighter. I can see the use of a Talon and a Talon Shrike together.
Yep.
But I don't get the sense that they should have been 2 separate ships. I feel like it should have been an upgrade, especially now that we have the upgrade area.
Cousin Crows,
thank you, Cousin Crows.
Yeah.
It feels like it's being underutilized, and it could be utilized a lot more.
Especially upon release. I wish it would have some of that. And we'll probably talk a little bit about this at the very end of the show when we talk about the Cutlass Steel, but it seems like there's opportunities for these minor changes in variants. And again, it just sort of feels like one of those things. It's like, oh gosh, to have both versions, you need to buy 2 ships. You could definitely earn them in game, but there is that pressure then to buy the 2-pack. You know what I mean? It's the only CIG marketing thing I don't love. It really is. It's the only one that feels a little icky to me. You know what I mean?
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
So
the Steel is the newest one that I feel the same way about that one.
Yeah. We're going to keep moving on. We still have a lot to cover. We won't go through every host's opinion on every topic, but this next one here, I would love to hear everyone's thoughts. And that is, we got our first iteration of ship naming that came in March of this year. I think it was on 5 ships: the Reclaimer, the 890, the Carrack, MSR. Hopefully I have those right. I could be wrong. Either way, ship naming. Starlet, I'm going to hand this one over to you first. Opinions on ship naming, but not just ship naming, but maybe how it was rolled out.
Oh, yeah. This topic really got me quite emotive at the time, I
Awesome.
guess. Super frustrating how they did that, and I get it, and some people like it the way it is, but having names kind of unique but not unique, really annoying. Like, one or the other, please. That's just my personal take, and I know other people like it the way it is, just to have the uniqueness based on the hull type. Really cool to have names in game. It kind of makes your ship feel so much more personal and expressive. Just that little change makes a huge difference to how you kind of relate to your ship, I think. But they really need to fix the font. It's tiny.
Yeah.
They know that.
Yeah, it is.
Enterprise opinions on ship naming.
Oh yeah, totally.
I have a feeling you got a couple good ship names, right?
I do. When I was mainlining Elite Dangerous, every single ship that I fly has a name. You can go to my old fleet page and see every ship with the name and the why of the name and the reference. So for me, when they introduced this idea about naming ships, I got really excited, and then I got really annoyed because I was like, wait a minute. Only these certain ships, and only if I spent the real USD dollars on them. And I'm like, okay, but what about the future when the game is out? If you buy a ship in game, can you name it? Is it only for the money ships? So basically, my point right now is I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care until we can name all the ships and have that be a part of the game. Like when I buy a ship in game, I should be able to give it a name. And then it shows up like when you call your ship, it's like Pad 4. It'd be like Pad 4, the Liberty, or whatever you name your cool ship. You're like Pad 6, the Minnow is now arriving. Like until we all have it, I don't really care all that much.
I agree. It feels like sometimes when things are locked behind too many rules and too many little walls that are it just on something as insignificant as ship naming, it just seems a little. Here's what the problem.
I do love it though. I want it.
Yeah,
I want it so bad.
And this is the problem I think CIG faces with a lot of their systems they roll out. They will roll them out in this limited capacity for testing purposes. So in this case, it was 5 ships and limited to certain waves. And I'm sure they do that because they just couldn't implement the naming areas on all ships. However, it takes this thing everyone's excited about it, and we're building up to release, we're all getting excited, and then it kind of falls flat. It feels like something that falls flat, and when you get enough of those that feel like they fall flat, you sort of start going, man, it feels like CIG's not making the progress they need to be making when they probably accomplished the internal goal they had, which was to get a couple ships in game that are named so they can test the system, blah, blah, blah. And there are issues with it, so it's probably good that they didn't implement it for the 125 ships they had. They know they have a font size problem and stuff. Jared even joked about that on ISC this week. They kind of joked that they're too small. And, little things too, like the Carrick Expedition names don't work, you know what I mean? And still don't work. It's like, oh, God, so I think there's work to be done there. I personally feel like they should remove all limiters on it. Matter of fact, I think people should be able to have the same ship name on the same ships. Like if 2 people have a 600i and they both want to call it, Wandering Whale, they should be able to call it that. I really don't care that the name is unique, because all people are going to do is then get annoying with their weird internet typing where they're using letters. It's just going to get annoying anyway, so just let them all run with it. And honestly,
you get into go on.
Go ahead, Ender.
Okay, I was going to say, yes, I agree with you there, because you get into a situation where someone bought a ship. Like, let's imagine somebody who bought a ship now, and let's say they name it a coveted name. I don't know. How about the USS Enterprise?
Right.
Something like that. And then they just are like, you know what? I don't play games anymore. Bye. And then they own that name on that ship forever, and no one can ever use it.
Exactly.
I got in a fight with Xbox Live support to get the name Enterprise on my Xbox account, because someone who has Enterprise hasn't logged into their account in 8 years.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, 8 years. Come on, give me that name.
And then when
why do you think I have an underscore on Twitch?
Yeah.
There's someone else who doesn't stream anymore.
And
has not streamed for years.
You take into the fact too, and Starlet, this is something we've had conversations about just in terms of server meshing and how many people will actually be on a server, and more specifically in your area. It's not going to be thousands and thousands of players. At best, we're going to have a couple 100 players in an area. The likelihood that you're going to come across that same ship with the exact same name especially if you have a unique name, is going to be pretty rare, to the fact where if you did run across it, you probably reach out to that person and say, hey, our ships are named the same. That's kind of cool. Or if you're one of those people that did name your ship the Enterprise, people honestly are probably going to look at you kind of lame anyway, because you chose the lamest, most cliche name.
It's
you know what I mean?
super lame.
So
Come on,
it's almost one of
be
those
creative.
systems you want to let the community self-police. So
this was a marketing thing, which is really
yeah.
disappointing. It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
just
I mean, I want the
promo,
branding
buy
in
a ship
game.
now
Yeah.
to get your name, or you'll lose it.
Yeah.
And I don't really appreciate that.
And I've fallen victim to it. I had a Corsair and I melted it and paid real money to snag one of Starlet's original War Bond Corsairs that has the name reservation in it, just because I wanted to name my Corsair. So I've fallen victim to it. I'm not saying I'm not immune to the marketing thing going on here. All right, we're going to move on. Another ship was released in March, was along with Stella Fortuna, which is another one of the like the St. Patty's Green sort of holiday that gets done every March. We got the Cyclone MT, and we got some Stella Fortuna paints for, I think, the MSR and maybe a Dragonfly, I forget. No, I think it was just MSR and the Cyclone MT. We won't go too deep into this. Obviously ground vehicles are pretty cool to have, especially, as we're getting more gameplay loops like, the jump towns and all that. Those ground vehicles will have a purpose. I still think we need more gameplay for the ground-based stuff. But anyways, it was always cool to get another Cyclone. I still feel like a Cyclone is a perfect vehicle that needs to be a base vehicle, and then you can mod it out with the various platforms, the AA or the turret or whatever.
It's the Warthog.
Yeah, it's
the Warthog of the game.
How can you not love it? So
it's great.
So we're going to move on to our next big talking point. Yeah, so the next big release, which was in April, was patch 3.13. I'm going to go over a few highlights of 3.13, and then we can talk about it. So 3.13 brought some additions to refinery decks on space stations. It brought in the new asteroids into Stanton, which were kind of nice. It brought in cave entrances, the big drive-ins and sinkholes, which actually ended up being much cooler than I thought they were going to be. We got a couple of ships. We got obviously the Cyclone MT, like I just talked about, but we got the Rock DS. We also got the Tumbrel Nova, the tank, finally. So that was, I think, one of the big significant ones. And we also got, finally, the Hercules C2 and M2 Starlifters. In terms of gameplay for patch 3.13, we got quantum-sensitive delivery missions, which were, I thought, pretty cool. We got new shield effects, mining subcomponents. We got mission spawn closets, mounted guns, force reactions, which is kind of a big one. And we got vehicle visual degradation, which is so cool, but I haven't seen it a lot. And we got a very long-awaited one, or two long-awaited features. We got the Merlin and Constellation docking and ship-to-station docking. And the last but not least, we got object push and pull, which I think we'll see even a greater usage when we get the cargo refactor. But again, pretty big patch actually. 3.13 was a pretty big patch. I'll talk first on this one. The big thing I was waiting for with 3.13 was the Hercules Starlifters. I'm a pretty big fan of cargo running in game, and I wanted a dedicated cargo ship, and I thought that I've always loved the look of the Starlifters and just Crusader ships in general, so it was cool to finally get those in game. But Starlet, I'll hand it over to you first. Any thoughts on 3.13? Was that a memorable patch for you?
They started to get a bit better with their bug fixing. I feel like, and some of the vehicles got fixed. It was really nice, and the Tonk was just fun. I think a lot of us just enjoyed trying it out, driving around a bit, and starting to see that there might be some more ground combat stuff than we may have previously thought.
Yeah.
Coming in the future, that is.
Yeah. Enterprise U 313.
Oh yeah, the new shields. Big fan. When the
was that
SDF
the first
shields?
Yeah, was that SDF shields?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'm looking at the patch notes now. Yeah, SDF shields. Yep.
When those SDF shields rolled out to all the ships from just the Idris, I thought that was fantastic. Again, visually, like as a streamer showing off the game, seeing not just that kind of bluish, awkward flash around your ship that when the shield was on or not, yet but seeing it change. And especially like if you're going down to a planet and one wing is off, then like the fire goes around that area where the wing is. Same thing with the shield. It kind of morphs around the ship.
Yeah.
I thought that was badass. Very cool. Did we get docking this same one? Was this the same one?
So we got ship to station docking, and we got Merlin and Constellation docking in 313, which was
very
pretty cool.
excited about those as well, because again, coming from my elite background, ship fighters was probably the only multi-crew fun thing to do in that game, launching ship launch fighters. So when that happened here, I got really excited about that. Of course, that was then quickly I had to reserve my excitement about it because every time I would do it, it would like despawn one of the ships, or you'd blow up on the way out, or never mind. But in theory, the idea really cool. Love that. And in terms of docking huge ships, like the very first time I brought the 890 over and like docked it at a station, that was an incredible experience and made our multi-crew Thursdays more fun, because then I can say like, everybody go to hangar 3 or hangar 2 and like, or docking port 2 rather.
Yeah.
And then everyone like gets in the elevator and tries not to kill each other. And then makes their way up and get to have that cool walk down the corridor,
And that was another one of those moments. And I heard a lot of people talking about this. That was another one of those moments that really made Star Citizen awesome, like something you hadn't seen in another game. So
a lot of my friends in the elite world who don't look at this game very often were making videos that were just those aspects, and getting all this excitement around that, because again, something that Star Citizen is great at doing, giving us gameplay experiences that have never really existed before.
Yep. Cool. So 313 brought that on, and again, a lot of like smaller things, like force reactions and stuff, which we still see now. I think a lot of that stuff, like object push pull, force reactions, I think those will play even a much bigger role in Star Citizen in the future.
You're talking about when you stagger, right?
Yeah, when you stagger or when the ship moves. Yeah,
on the ship.
And while it seems like while it seems like kind of a weird feature, when you think about something small like that actually justifying an entire ship, it does make you think about it differently. So, for example, with force reactions, it makes you think like force reactions are why we have the Valkyrie. It's why we have the Prowler. It's why we have this new Cutlass Steel, or possibly drop ship modules for the Redeemer eventually. There's force reactions will actually have a real reason why you may choose a certain ship over another in the future. Object push pull, while it seems kind of not heavily used now when cargo refactor comes on board and stuff, I imagine we're going to be using our trolleys a lot more and whatnot. So again, a lot of these weird features that come on board in these patches that seem a bit strange, or like, oh, okay, object push pulls now in this patch. It may not seem like much now, but the goal is that it eventually has a major gameplay component tied to it. So we're going to keep moving on. Still got a lot to cover, everyone. 313 was a pretty cool patch, and I will agree with you, Starlet, that 313 is when the game got playable again for me. 3.8 was one of the most stable patches for me of all time. The game played absolutely amazing. And then from 3.9, 3.10, 3.11, 3.12, as Ender knows, I had a lot of issues, like weird technical issues. And then 3.13 is when it started to get better for me. So I would definitely agree with that. And we've since heard from CIG that they started putting more effort into squashing gameplay bugs and making quality of life better in the game. So anyways, let's move on. Next we go in, so that was all in April. Next we moved into May, which is one of my favorite months for Star Citizen, because that is when we get Invictus. And Invictus this year was especially cool. This year in Invictus, we got to see the Javelin and stuff, but we, as we usually do, the Javelin and Idris flying around, but we actually got to do a limited tour on a Javelin destroyer. It wasn't very much of it, but we did get to see a little bit of it. So it was cool that they actually let us on board a little bit. Hopefully next year they open up more of the Javelin for us to explore. But we got to see that, and we got to see the Bengal carrier in game do a flyby. That was, I have to say, pretty damn epic. I'm going to hand this over to Ender. Ender's back now. Ender, what was your thoughts on Invictus as a former Navy vet yourself? How do you feel about the Invictus event in general, and what do you think of this year's Invictus?
I love the Invictus event. It's a blast, and I'll be honest. I thought that they did the tours perfectly. When you go onto a ship now, there are plenty of areas that you're not allowed to go. Combat Information Center. You can go to the bridge, but you can't go into other areas. So there are a lot of areas that you're not allowed to go into, and it's because a lot of it's still top secret. And so them allowing you to, for example, get into the turrets. You get on a carrier, you can go to a turret. And you can touch it, and they'll allow civilians to do that, but they will not allow you to go into other areas, and they kept those off limits. So I thought that was really accurate and really fun.
Yeah.
I would love to tour it myself,
Yeah.
but as a civilian, it was perfectly done.
Any hopes for Invictus in next year?
I'd love to see I don't know, Starjump Station be a part of that somehow.
The actual Starjump Station in
100%.
system. We need to get CIG on it.
system.
Xylo, if you're lurking, let's get a back and forth going, and let's get Starjump Station in there.
I'd like to see more of the bingo.
Yeah.
And maybe some fun. I don't know, in-game just hunts or something like that you're able to do where you can kind of interact a little more.
Yeah. We also, during the Invictus time period, they unveiled the RSI Scorpius, as you're seeing here. That was was that the only ship unveiled during Invictus? I believe it was. Correct me if I'm wrong,
yeah.
chat.
Yeah, because you got it in literally like the next day for some cinematic that you did.
Yep, yeah. Oh, that's true. Oh, yeah. That's the other thing. Our Aegis cinematic released for May, which was a pretty big deal. But we'll talk about that in just a minute. So yeah, they announced the RSI Scorpius. Really cool ship. Everyone gets to live the X-wing dream. Enterprise, thoughts on the Scorpius?
Well, can I just mention my favorite thing about the Idris?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
The first time we saw selfie NPCs.
Oh yeah,
using
that's true.
Using their Moby glass.
Yes.
Using their Moby glass to take photos. I thought that was awesome.
Really
and then
cool.
Hearing bored kids, real bored kids being like, is it over? Like that was so loud. The game audio was just killing me laughing.
Yeah.
Trying to check out that tour. Okay. So that was cool. The Scorpius, this thing, I think the idea that the turret can swing down and then swing up is a pretty cool idea.
Yep.
I hope it actually works in theory like that. Like I hope that is a button on the keybind that you click and then it swirls down. Don't make me go out and re-hold F to click and then have it go back in. I'm hoping that is a fun game playable aspect of it. Otherwise we'll just never use it. You'll just be like if you can't see someone, you'd be like, hey, can you turn the ship a little bit down for me? Awesome. Now I can shoot that person.
Yeah. And not completely unprecedented. I'm not 100% confirmed on this, but if you look at the Javelin destroyer, it's got the same exact rail system for its top and bottom main turret.
It does.
So I'm assuming they move in some fashion.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's the Scorpius and Invictus. Starlet, did you have any thoughts on Invictus, or maybe what you hope to see this year in Invictus?
Oh, again, scale, flying around the Bengal, seeing it go nuts with its, 70, 90
Yeah,
guns?
I think it's 90-something turrets. Yeah.
And, it just gives you a glimpse of what could be possible if they can pull it all off.
Yeah.
So neat.
Yeah, I agree. Invictus was cool. I love that they tried to one up themselves a little bit. I hope they do that this next year as well. Um, you know, I would love for Drake to kind of counter that. The big show of the military ships, and at least make the Kraken exterior visible back in Lorville or something. I think they had it on display there when it was originally when the ship originally went on concept sale. I think they had the Kraken parked out there, or they showed it during one of their videos. I would love for them to do that. I know the Kraken's interior is not built out, but exterior would be cool to see, just for Drake to kind of play off of that. We're shut out of Invictus, so we're going to try to do something cool. But either way, we're going to move on from the Scorpius. Really cool ship. X-Wing fantasy dual role, two-player ship. One commanding the turret, one pilot. I know Ender
I like
has
that combo.
Yeah,
Hurricane comes to mind.
Exactly. I know Ender's got an eye on this ship for sure. But then next in June, brought with us Alien Week, and we were unveiled to the Gatak Raylan, and Gatak being a completely new manufacturer. You're seeing the Gatak Raylan here doing its orbit. This ship really spoke to me, honestly, just because it really felt like CIG went all in on like crazy alien stuff, and I thought that was really cool. I pledged for this ship actually at that time. I have since melted it, so it's in buybacks, but I'm going to see, when it comes online. I actually have a feeling this ship will go into production semi-soon. Part of my feeling with that is I do think they are going to prioritize cargo ships and cargo ships of this size. Especially with the cargo refactor coming online, I think in 318. The first, we've gotten a ton of cargo ships this past year, by the way, from the Hercules series to the new Raft. The whole Sea will be coming out. It was originally supposed to come out this year. It's been delayed, but they had a bunch of cargo ships on the docket, and I could see the Gatak coming on, at least entering the pipeline next year sometime. So,
that movie you did of it with the colors spreading out. That was so cool. It's my best memory of the Gatak Raylan.
Oh yeah. That was for one of the. I think it was it the Pride Week thing? Oh yeah. You just reminded me. I just skipped over it. But May was our was when Starjump and primarily me, because I directed it, but. It was when we released the Aegis cinematic, which I had been working on for about. Hopefully, this thing's not making. Sorry, the volume was up on the video. But I had been working on this, so released it in May, and I had been working on this cinematic for I think 3.5 to 4 months before that. Starting with pre-production on the ships, reaching out, Execute, a friend of the show, helped me reach out to a lot of content creators and people in the community to try to plug their names on certain ships, not for anything more than get other communities to check it out beyond Starjump community, because the Starjump community was not big at that time, and we wanted a way for other people to be able to enjoy what we created within their own communities. So we wanted to bring a little bit of their community into, the cinematic. His Divine Shadow, thank you for those 100 bits. Amazing. Always a big supporter of the show. And everyone who's followed here in the last little bit, thank you for the follows. Thank you for supporting Starjump. But yeah, so the Aegis cinematic was a pretty big challenge. One thing I think that's kind of cool to point out about it is it had 65 ships in it, which was quite a bit of ships, and a lot of those were ships that do not exist in game, so they had to be built out, worked out, textured, lit, all that stuff. It was a 9.5 minute long cinematic, which I'll never do again. It was too long. I actually think it hurt it more than it helped it. And for those fans of Starjump that have been following along, there is a new cinematic. I've done Drake, I've done Aegis, done a Crusader teaser, but the next cinematic will be an RSI cinematic. It is in pre-production. A lot of the ships are being prepped. About 99% done with ship prep at this point. So in January, I'll be moving into actual scene animation. I think the goal is to have it released during Invictus again. It will be a shorter cinematic, probably around 4 to 5 minutes, But one cool thing about it is that, one thing we try to do on all the cinematics is put something that people have never seen before in them, so that we can all live out our Star Citizen fantasies. And the RSI cinematic will be no different. You're going to see things like the updated BMM, Banu Merchantman in it. You're going to see Titan suits in it. There's going to be a whole Titan suit sequence that's going to be pretty cool. So I'm going to try to push the envelope. There's going to be a lot more character-driven stuff in it. There's going to be planetary surface stuff in it. So we're really going to go all out. If you're fans of the new Odyssey that was just announced, the Odyssey is going to have a big moment in it. But anyway, stay tuned for that. We are working on it. So then moving on into the end of June, we got our second in-game event, which was the Ninetales event. Now, I actually did not participate in this. Did anyone here on the panel get involved in that? Enterprise. What was your thoughts on Ninetales?
I thought the ship-to-ship combat was really fun. Like it was similar, like in terms of just going into it, just a bounty hunt, right? Just a bounty hunt with a lot of other players in the server. It was similar to the Idris event, well, the Xenothreat event, but it seemed to just be a little smoother. It seemed to be faster paced and relentless, just like wave after wave of small ships to fight. Like I had just got some like new joysticks at the time, and like I remember just like my arm was like kind of like sore from like how much just bounty hunting and like ship combat there was during that event. It seemed to go on and on and on. And also we made a ton of credits. I mean, RIP those credits. Am I right?
Yeah.
Gone.
That's right.
But that was
reset.
Really fun. I did not really participate in the trading aspect of it because every time I was going to, it wasn't working right. Or like I couldn't find anything. So that part of it, I didn't do. I just went into it for the PvP and PvE engagement with emergent gameplay loops that come from that.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, I did not participate in it. I do want to. That's on my bucket list of things to do in Star Citizen. So we're going to keep moving on. We still have a lot to cover. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next big talking point. I'm going to do a quick summary of it, which was patch 3.14. Now, this was a big one to me. This was a pretty big one. This was one I was actually looking forward to the most throughout the year. I'll give a quick rundown of it. The two big things that released during 3.14 were we finally got the proper gas giant Crusader, and we got the Orison landing zone. Hopefully I'm saying that right. If you pronounce it differently,
Orison.
To you.
It's Orison.
Right.
We went through a whole month of that bullshit. It's Orison.
Yes.
Not Horizon.
Yeah,
Orison.
which brought on our first iteration of cloud rendering, volumetric cloud systems, which when we talk about Pyro here later, we'll talk about that a little bit more. They finally released the RSI Constellation Taurus, as well as the Canvas Slice ship HUDs. And in terms of gameplay, we got Power Management version 2, the new radar scanning and ping, missile guidance and control rework, and missile operator mode, as well as the law system version 2. Now, I think the big discussion point for 3.14 will be Orison and Crusader. I'll talk on those in a minute. It was definitely when I first pledged for Star Citizen, that was the landing zone and that I wanted to explore, that I wanted to be in, I wanted to check it out. The concept art is still some of my favorite stuff. And while the realized version of Orison looks a little different than the concept art, I still think they created something that doesn't have an equal in video games. I truly think it's something that if you showed someone that didn't play Star Citizen, their jaw would drop on the floor. So I think it was a big success. It's funny enough, not where I set my home, my primary residence, because to get to Atmosphere takes too long. But I love that it's there.
Too long.
Yeah, I love that it's there. They did an amazing job on it. Starlight, I'm going to hand it over to you first on 3.14. Thoughts on it?
Those clouds are something else.
Yeah.
And I don't think people say, well, Microsoft Flight Simulator had similar clouds earlier. But these are a little bit different because everyone sees the same clouds. They're kind of server-side almost. So
yeah.
So that's a big difference, and I think they actually have moved the bar forward a bit here. They're still working on it, still improving it, and we saw at CitizenCon some of the lightning effects coming, but that was
And
a
in
great patch to
Microtech
see
now,
those crowds.
yeah. Ender, your thoughts on 314?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yep.
So again, coming at this from a streamer who prioritizes visuals and getting people excited about that aspect of the game, this was an amazing location to go to. The very first time I went there, I was like, "Oh, this is so cool. How many places are there?" Like that Stratus. And
Yeah.
just the first time I went to the mall there and saw that little Quickie Mart store where you can buy guns and plushies and food, like that was amazing.
Yep.
Finley, where definitely want that plushie. I got 2 Picos. I think one's right there.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, see it.
I want a Finley to go right next to that Pico. All right, so if we move aside from the visuals, the first time I got to use a walker in Star Citizen was at the hospital there.
Mhm.
That was quite an experience.
That was an achievement.
Yep, running with the walkers. I think I have a clip of me falling down the stairs with the walker. It's like on my intro video, like because it was such a fun, unique experience.
Yeah.
Jumping off that tower
Mhm.
was also a fun experience back when death still had no meaning. I definitely tried to find how many ways you could die at that landing site. Also, if you want to know, you cannot jump on those little taxis. If you touch the top of that taxi, you die right away.
Yeah.
I love those barges that are going overhead with all the shipping containers. My dream is that we get bounty missions to like stop pirates who are trying to steal those containers. Because you can land your ship up there and walk around those containers and you feel like every detective cop movie where they go to the docks and they're like, what, like that's how you feel there. And I really want that gameplay. I think it's,
by the way,
there's a lot of
Bourbon reminded us
loops
to check our posture and hydrate. So make sure you check your posture and hydrate. I just set up straight. Yeah, continue.
I think there's a lot of gameplay loops that could happen. I mean, they're going to give us like repair missions on those, like, I don't know, scrubbers or whatever. Like, speaking of that, those details, if you walk around, it's got some of the best tiny details of any of the landing sites.
Oh yeah.
Which is not surprising because they keep getting better and better. Every time they do the same thing again, it is more nuanced and more detailed. So it's not a surprise. As we said, the only downside is frame rates.
Yeah.
Which, like everyone's machine doesn't matter.
And we hopefully with all the systems like ship culling and interior and exterior culling, things like Gen 12 render coming on board, server meshing, hopefully some of that stuff will get alleviated and Orison will not be the punishing place it is now. But I one thing I'll say too, and Ender number 1, Starjump Ender, I'll go ahead and ask you about your thoughts on it too. But one thing I will say is I really love those barges that float around, and I would love for them to add NPC air traffic like that to some of the other landing zones. It doesn't even have to be all the time or really heavy, but it'd be really cool, for example, to see a Microtech barge float by, every now and then. Maybe it just kind of traces a path from, Microtech, there's all those little like cooling like research stations dotted over the planet, just like goes from one to the other. Something would be really cool. But Starjump Ender, thoughts on that? Thoughts on 314 to me?
314 was amazing. Orison, even with its ginormous 150,000 kilometer exit, it's my home.
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of the Japanese aesthetic, the cherry blossoms. Spent a lot of time in DC while I was in the military, and you got to smell those during the Cherry Blossom Festival out there. And I've always been a fan of the old samurai movies. So seeing this aesthetic be put into a landing zone was really nice for me.
Yeah.
And I will say that if you use the Aries, you can get out of atmosphere pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But I love just everything about Orison.
Yeah.
Aesthetically, at least.
One thing I will say real quick before we move on, I want to get us kind of moving on, is that radar scanning and pinging, the first rework of that came on board, which is actually really cool. It's a really cool system. And I'm hoping as more of that gameplay comes on board, especially like being able to mask yourself and all that stuff that they showed on various ISCs this past year, I'm hoping when that comes on board that we'll get a true radar scanner operator mode that's fully fleshed out. I think that would be really, really cool. I'm going to go ahead and move us on, though, to the next big thing, which was kind of two things that ran in parallel. I'll go over the first now, though, although they really kind of ran at, I think, roughly the same time. That was the I know Starlet's favorite event, absolutely favorite event, and that was the Ship Showdown for 2951. Obviously, probably the most controversial thing in Star Citizen. I know some people loved it, some people hated it, but either way, I will say that CIG did a bang-up job on the paint jobs, I thought. But here's our four winners. We had the MPVU Argo. We had the MSR, the Hercules Starlifter series, as well as the 600i. Starlet, I'm gonna let you have the first word on this one. Thoughts on the Ship Showdown?
I really appreciate that. Look, plus the 600 got a skin, and it's really nice skin. That's quite lovely. I'm a fan of the 600. I know a lot of people don't like it. I think it has a lot of potential, and I'm so happy to have another skin for it. It's nice. They're all great skins.
Yeah. How do you feel about?
I don't know how much you're actually going to get much use out of your new MPUV skin, but congratulations, everyone. Yeah. Enjoy your new MPUV skin and enjoy your new Warbond CCU for that you couldn't really use. So good on you.
I'll put my opinion in on this one real quick. Enterprise, after that, if you have an opinion, please chime in and we'll move off for this. But I will say that I actually thought it was really here's the pluses and minuses of it. So I really love that the community got so passionate about this Ship Showdown, because it's actually one of the events I look forward to the most, right? It really is. It's a fun, everyone can get involved. I love how CIG does the brackets. It's a lot of fun. The only thing I didn't love about the MPUV winning was that I felt like because it won, a lot of people probably went out and bought it for real money, when it is definitely a ship you should buy with your in-game credits. If for anybody who watches Info Runners, for sure, I definitely do subscribe to the idea that those really small ships, and especially like ground vehicles, for example, their real dollar cost versus their in-game credit cost there's no value there. As a matter of fact, it's kind of, I want to call it a ripoff, but it's not good. And I felt like that with the Argo winning, that probably a lot of people bought that ship, and it's like, that's totally fine. Do whatever you want with your own money. But it was like, you know what I almost wish? I almost wish that, and I know they got to be careful with this, but I almost wish that whatever ship wins the best in show gets like maybe for like 1 or 2 days only, gets like its pledge price cut in half or something. I don't know, or maybe not cut in half, but 75%, something substantial that would make it to where if one of these ships like the Argo did win again next year, maybe it's a Dragonfly or whatever, if one of those does win and you did get people buying, at least they were buying it on a heavy discount, and it doesn't feel as bad. But that's my take. I'm going to hand it over to Enterprise first. Enterprise, any thoughts on the best in show this year?
Oh yeah, I mean, for one, it's all for fun.
It's all for fun.
It's just for fun. It's all for fun for a fantasy game that we like to play.
Yeah.
So that's important to remember. But in terms of like detail, I do kind of wish that CIG would make some ships like off limits to vote for because they won the year before, maybe, or like they've won previously. Because if we're truly going to do a best in show, in my opinion, then it's like all about the caliber of ship, and then the same ones are going to win every year. It's always going to be the Carrack. It's always going to be the Cuddy Black until something new.
So maybe if you've won maybe if you've won the first, like the big winner, the best in show ship, that one ship each year, maybe that one goes off the brackets.
Yeah, I think that'd be totally fine for them to do. But I like your idea a lot about making it a a discount thing. Maybe we can all get a Dragonfly for like $5.
Yeah, something like that, substantial.
Even if they did it really quick, like 5 minutes. For 5 minutes, the Dragonfly is $5. And then
we do get warp on.
And then the diehards will all like click it.
Yeah, I think they do offer the Warbond CCUs. You're right. Yeah, I just think that I think they can do a lot of things with this event, I guess. But Starjump, Ender, thoughts on Best in Show?
I think this year kind of showed that maybe it does need to change. I'll be honest. What I'd like to see is a ship class, a best in class section. So for this class, you've got maybe the
like best cargo hauler, best general purpose. Yeah.
And then from the best in class of that, you get your best in show. I think that would be a good way to do it.
Yeah, that would be
choice.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. And maybe each ship from each class would get a skin that wins that one, and then the grand prize gets a skin and a backpack or a new cod piece or whatever else thing they think of for next year. I don't.
And then as a vertical, they can have an event where all of those best in class ships go in a PvP battle together. And of course, they reach out to their favorite streamers to fly all those ships, and they film it and make it a whole event.
There you go.
And I nominate to fly in the worst, shittiest ship for that. I'll give it my all and, go for broke.
Love it. All right, moving off of the best in show, which again, with this one being so crazy this year, I'm excited to see what next year's has in store for us. We're going to a pretty big moment this year in Star Citizen, which was our all digital CitizenCon. CitizenCon was pretty big this year. First off, it was all digital, like I just said, and it gave us the first looks at a couple of new ships like the Banu Merchantman, the Anvil Liberator, our first true look at the Origin 400i. There was others, and it gave us our first big look at Pyro, the first system that we're going to get outside of Stanton and Star Citizen. So first, let's focus on the Pyro discussion. I'll go ahead and talk first on this one. It was amazing. That initial gameplay demo they showed of the 400i entering the cloud deck on Pyro, whatever planet, flying down to the outpost and showing different ways to accomplish that mission, showing the outpost with NPCs there and functionable and stuff. It was just really cool. And again, it made the game feel bigger. I like that CIG said that all this was real. None of it was fakery. None of it was built just for the show. This is all stuff that is actually in development, that is actually going to be in our hands. That was a major deal for me on the Pyro stuff because I do have problems sometimes when they show things that are very obviously built for a demo. This got me excited specifically because this is something that we will be able to do when Pyro comes out. That being said, who wants to take or give opinions on Pyro first? Enterprise?
Yeah, I got a bunch. So I watched the majority of this event on my phone while at a vet because our cat Panda was kind of sick and we had to take him to the vet. But at the same time, I was like, I got to stay on top of all this. So like there was a watch party in my Discord and I was like on my phone watching from like the waiting room at the vet. And so I was kind of in this interesting like locale to be a part of and watch all of it. And I exclaimed out loud in the vet clinic when that gameplay demo was like, oh, we're shooting now. Boom, 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 boom. And this, I was like, oh, like, and someone looked at me like,
yeah.
So that was a really cool experience to witness. I appreciated all of the deep dive behind the scenes pieces they gave us. I felt some of them felt a little long in the tooth, if you will, some of them I was kind of like, oh, okay. If I was in person here, I might be getting a little sleepy at this point, but I still really liked that. And of course, if it was IRL, you'd be able to get up and like go somewhere else in the meantime and then go back.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of,
some of them were a bit long in the tooth. Yeah.
Yeah. And in terms of other things, I remember really enjoying about the event. I liked seeing new ships. Clearly that's always fun, but I keep going back to that demo because I've seen a lot of fake demos for video games, a lot of very heavily edited demos. And I mean, we don't know if that was seamless or not. Like, we don't actually know that, but it did look pretty seamless, and it seemed like running in game.
Yeah.
And I was just blown away at how detailed and complex that location is. Like,
and there may be someone in chat that
paths.
Yeah, I think there may be someone in chat that can correct me, but I'm pretty sure Xylo came out and said that that was all in game, no fakery, no curtains or anything hiding anything. That it was the real deal, and it was actually in development. Like those were gameplay systems in development for us. That mission specifically is something we're going to get to do. His Divine Shadow gifting 5 Tier 1 subs, always a huge supporter of Starjump and many other content creators. Just a great community person, and we really salute you, His Divine Shadow. Thank you so much. But yeah, totally agree, Enterprise. I mean, it was, I keep going back to the demo. I love that Pyro looks so unique. Ender, Starjump Ender, Starlet, any opinions on Pyro?
Looks amazing.
Yep.
I'm so excited for it. It's going to be really neat when it comes out.
Yeah.
And
seeing it come out is going to be great.
Yeah, and I mean, it looks like it's going to be next year. It looks like it's going to be the end of the year if everything goes according to plan. I think that's what CIG is pretty heavily trying to hint here, which gives us something to look forward to next year. We're going to be, I think the whole year next year is going to be building up to Pyro's release. So I think 2022 is going to be pretty crazy. So let's go real quick through a couple of ships here. The first one that was shown off, and when we had already known about this one, was the 400i. Don't want to dwell on this one too long. New Origin ship, supposed to compete with the Connie and Corsair, give or take. You know, I know there's a lot of different metrics and stuff going on. But so far, by and large, it seems like people really love the Origin 400i. I think it brought on board a lot of new Origin fans, and has largely been a pretty big success. I'm just going to choose one of you to comment on it. I'm going to choose Starlet. Starlet, I know you're a fan of the 400i, am I right?
Good lighting. I love it.
It does have really cool lighting controls in it, I'll give it that.
Amazing. Yeah, you can kind of sit in the back there with the table and realize,
pushes us to greatness.
Yeah.
Nice. People didn't understand it at first, but it's a ship for running. It's a ship for moving, and it's not a ship for fighting. So,
it is fast.
It's real.
Yeah. 1250 something? No, 1200.
Sorry, I think I had the audio for the 400i on. Sorry about that. Thank you, Ash, for pointing that out. Appreciate it. Some of these videos do have audio tied to them. Sorry. Yeah, agreed, Starlet. I think it's definitely a ship for running, and it's a ship from getting to A to B quickly, just in your day-to-day stuff. You know what I mean? Getting from this planet to pick up this thing and get to this planet to drop it off.
If the interior is any signal, like if the 600i ends up with that kind of interior, that would be amazing.
Yeah. It's rework. It's 600i rework. Next ship they unveiled, and this one was kind of a big surprise, probably a disappointment to Starlet, so I won't bring up this memory and let her speak on it. But this was the Anvil Liberator. I'm going to actually get opinions from Enderprise on this one. Starjump Ender, I want your opinion on the next one. But Enterprise, thoughts on the Anvil Liberator, the Anvil light carrier ship?
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you that a lot of the members of my community are super into it and jumped on it.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them picked one up already.
Yeah.
My opinion on it is I honestly, I don't like to get too excited about ships until they're closer to being done.
Yeah.
I've been let down too many times by too many video games.
Yeah.
And honestly, Star Citizen in general, I don't even look at what's coming before the patch that's about to release. Yeah. I don't even look at it. I'm like, hey, that's cool.
Yeah.
But until Jared says, guys, guess what's happening next? I'm like, tell me more, Jared. Like those are the features that I get on board for. So for this ship, I think it sounds really cool. I love the idea of having a mini carrier.
Yeah.
Because one of my favorite in-game events to do, we call it the Mosquito Fleet. That's where we try to put as many dragonflies on a ship as possible. Specifically, we'll do that in the C2, or my personal favorite, the Caterpillar. even though the caterpillar is more dangerous because if you touch the sides of the hangar, the dragonfly becomes one with the ship, and that's a whole nightmare situation. But I love the idea of being able to bring the whole crew and all their ships to go off on some adventures together. And this one's going to be a ship that lets us do something like that.
The Liberator will be the ultimate Daymar rally ship.
Like without being a Kraken, it's going to let us have that carrier gameplay that we so badly want. At least I want.
Yeah. And I think that ships like the Kraken, which I do own a Kraken, and I really love the gameplay it's going to bring, especially emergent gameplay. I think the Liberator also falls in that category. The one tricky thing with these ships is their usage is not in game yet, but it's being heavily hinted that Pyro will bring their usage online in terms of huge systems. Because remember, Pyro, I believe, and I'm sure someone in chat will correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think it's like 6 or 8 something times bigger than Stanton. So fuel is going to start to become an issue. And I'd sort of wondered if CIG had forgotten about that, but they just brought up recently again how fuel and distance is going to become a real problem. So the Liberator, Kraken, things like that are going to have a real usage. Now, to kind of keep on trucking here, and again, we could probably talk for ages on these things, but the big reveal during CitizenCon was the BMM and Starjump Ender. I'm going to hand this one over to you. Thoughts on the BMM? I know this was a ship that you maybe weren't super interested in at first, and then saw the rework, and what's your thoughts coming away from that?
I wasn't interested in the BMM at all. But obviously my tastes have changed over the course of the almost 2 years that we've been playing. But the look of this ship is just super amazing to me, and I have to own it. The lines on this ship, the paint job, just the general aesthetic of the ship is beautiful.
We're currently working on it for Fleet Viewer, and it's a challenging ship because of its rather unique unique paint job. So,
and it's unique in a lot of ways, but it's gorgeous. I love this ship, and I like everything about it, and I like that it's been upped in size as well.
Yeah. I agree. I think it got a lot of people excited. I'm sure they sold a lot of BMMs during IAE and CitizenCon. So we're going to move on now to another big thing, but I did just mention for those of you that do not follow Starjump projects, maybe you're new to our community, new to the chat, and haven't heard about our Fleet Viewer project. I'm going to go ahead and bring that up for a quick moment because I just talked about it. That is something we've been working on all year. This is a short kind of preview you see playing here. We're developing a new Fleet Viewer that you can visualize your hangars with. It's going to be able to show your fleets off in different ways, different angles, all that stuff. There'll be some customization with it and stuff. You're seeing, and it's going to display those ships in a fidelity that you've not been able to display them up to, at this point. Obviously, there's Starship 42 and stuff like that use the Hollow Viewer models. Our models go way beyond that, are fully textured, fully realized. And you're going to be able to hopefully do custom things too. Like you're actually going to be able to, if you spawn an Endeavor, you're going to be able to spawn that Endeavor with different module configurations, all that stuff, and all that stuff be visualized. It's going to live on the hangar.link site that Starlit has developed. Starlit's also developing all the back end for the Fleet Viewer. I'm developing all the visuals for the Fleet Viewer. Like I said, we are hard at work on it. I am pushing. This is like priority 1 for me right now, and we're really pushing hard on it. The first release, version 1, which will probably be missing a few ships, not many, but a few, maybe the Hull D and Hull E specifically, because there's some problems with those. But the first version we're targeting for an end of January, beginning of February release. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, we think that the community is going to get a lot of usage out of it, and I'm pretty excited to see people posting their fleet pics using our new app. So,
can I ask a question about
it? Yeah, awesome.
Go ahead. Will you have the ability to have a shareable link that you can let other people look at without letting them mess with anything?
Yes.
Awesome.
There you go. Straight from Starlet's mouth.
That's perfect. That's something that we don't have currently for any of the, well, at least that I've seen, any of the programs that do this is a way to give a link. Because I'd love to have a link to share in my chat so people can see my ships and learn about them.
they'll be able to zoom in and zoom out and pan as well. So there'll be some functionality, even though you can't.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And you'll be able to view it in different angles. Obviously, in this video, you're seeing the isometric, but there'll be a top-down profile, front-facing, and we may add more views in the future. Now, version 1...
Mega rad. Sign me up.
Yeah, we're obviously get that out of the door, but there will be an update, it'll be version 2 and stuff, and we'll keep adding functionality, but we really do think this will add a lot. But we're pushing hard on it, I literally just finished off Origin this week, so all the Origin ships are done. All right, so we're going to go off of that. We're going to go back to BMM. Really cool ship. I think everyone's really excited for it. And in our fleet viewer, when you do populate it, it's going to look like it does in this image right here. You're going to have all the gold filigree lines and all that stuff on it. So again, we're going for high fidelity. Oh, and one other thing, if you join our Discord community, I think there's a join link here in the Twitch. We actually have an entire Hangar Link feedback section where you can communicate and interface directly with myself and Starlet on the Hangar Link Fleet Viewer project and Hangar Link in general, which is a great CCU chain calculator builder helper. So you can go on there, make suggestions or give feedback, etc., etc. Okay, we are going to push because we're getting pretty late in the show here. I'm going to push us to 3:15, our next big release. I think we have another question coming on board. Bourbon, did Bourbon have a question, Ender?
Yep.
Okay, let's drag him in.
Hey, Bourbon.
Good evening.
How's it going, Bourbon? What's on your mind?
This is actually about a couple of points ago. I was saying for a while, there's not too much of an issue. It was just in regards to the Liberator and the crack of the discussion that was going on.
Yeah.
With the Liberator being, and I think this is right, and if I'm wrong, then please correct me, but being able to have a limited refueling capacity, the hand refueling that you can do if anything's stored on board.
Yep.
Do you think that undermines a lot of the gameplay that the Kraken has? The Kraken being just a larger version of the Liberator, and do you think that takes away from what the Kraken's been hyped up to be?
I personally don't, because I think the Kraken will do it on a scale the Liberator is unable to do it on. The Liberator, I think, has 600 some odd SCU. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. And the Kraken is somewhere around 3,900 SCU. And remember, the Liberator doesn't its refueling and repairing isn't it limited to like manual refueling and repairing? Am I wrong about that?
I think so. The Liberator is just manual. You got to do.
Yeah, and the Kraken is going to have systems to do that. It's going to have like refuel systems, repair systems, and stuff that will do that stuff automatically for you. The Kraken is also the Liberator, maybe as well, but the Kraken is one of the few ships in game listed as an extreme long range ship too. So I think it's massive fuel capacity. So I wouldn't say it. The point you're making that I do think is valid though, and this is a general trend in ships, and it's heavily affected, I think, by the BMM right now and its current price point and what it's bringing to the table and its size. I think specifically with the Kraken, they are going to have to take another look at it and figure out what it's missing. We already know it's missing stuff because John Crew even said last Invictus that the Kraken was probably going to get things added to it, and specifically mentioned like a big medical suite. But I think the Kraken is going to get stuff added to it to justify its price point. The Idris kind of gets that by default because it's the hero of Squadron 42, so they've already said it's had more work than any other ship probably done to it, so it's going to be a hero ship. It's going to have, it's got firing ranges and all this stuff in it. I think we're going to see that with the Kraken. I think the Kraken's going to be plussed up in some ways. Not that take it in a different place from its concept. It's just that I don't think its concept information is all the information for the Kraken yet. I can tell you as someone who's inspected the model to a high degree because I own the ship, the Kraken has plenty of room to add tons of stuff. So great question, and I definitely want to do a show about that soon, Bourbon, specifically. So it's a great question. I'm going to go ahead and move us on. One thing I will quickly say, though, is that, let me see if I still have it here. I think we do all want to eventually see the Super Liberator, which you'll see here. CIG, if any of you are lurking, highly recommend putting the Super Liberator in game. Stretch that thing out, throw some Valkyrie parts on it, and call it a day. Once you do that, this thing will be able to hold 300 arrows. Let's just make it happen. I've had a lot of people contact me and say the Super Liberator is going to be a thing. I'll give you the idea for free. CIG Silo, shoot me a PM. All right, that is the Super Liberator. We are moving on. We're going to patch 3.1.5. We're going to roll through this one quickly. We're getting kind of late in the show here. 3.1.5 was a massive patch, probably the biggest patch might be one of the biggest patches of Star Citizen ever, in my opinion. I'm going to run through some of the stuff added.
Catastrophic injury.
Oh, am I getting audio? Am I getting audio? Did I miss another video with
audio? Free to go when you feel comfortable.
Am I getting audio? Oh, yep, I am. Sorry. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Some of these videos do have audio attached. I try to strip it out, but I missed some. So with 315, I'm going to run through some of the stuff. We got New Babbage Hospital, Grimhex Clinic, Rest Stop Clinics, the Orison Hospital, Orison version 2, which brought on the showroom and a couple other locations. We got Doctor Nurse AI behavior. We got updates to the Broken Moon map, infiltrate and defend missions, physical and local inventory, asset manager app on MobiGlass. We got loot generation tier 0, actor feature team did personal inventory. We got healing tier 0 bombs. We got NPC healing. We had quite a few ships come on board, the Anvil Spartan and the Argo Raft. Obviously, we talked about the 400i. We had the Aegis Redeemer, long awaited, come on board. The Crusader A2 Hercules Starlifter came on board with bombing. We had the Crusader Ares Starfighter Ion and Inferno come on board. Big popular ships right now in the game. I know Ender and me have talked ad nauseum about those. We had the Bearing Size 7 Ballistic Gatling and Size 7 Laser Cannon come on board. Big note to that Size 7. I think that's the same gun on front of the Nautilus. Yet another roadblocker down for that. The Cure Life Medical Tool and the Gray Tool Multi-Tool Healing Attachment. Woo! That's a long list of stuff. We'll keep 315 discussion short because we did an entire episode dedicated to 315. So if you want to check out our 315 episode, go check that out. But get quick points from everyone. Ender, I'm going to hand it off to you. 315, what was your big takeaway from it?
Love the Ares and the Redeemer. And kind of a big fan of the medical system, honestly. I know a lot of people are not big fans of it, but I like the medical system. It's a good start to what can be something really amazing in the future.
Yeah. Starlet, thoughts on 315? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, it's just a preview into what's coming. Really interesting to see. It's not all that exciting gameplay wise for me personally, but it does give me hope for the future. It looks like it.
Yeah. One way I'd describe 315 is excitingly disruptive. It's very much a disruptive patch, but there's some excitement just below the surface there for the future. So Enterprise, thoughts on 315?
Oh,
any standouts from that?
A lot. I'll try to keep it short.
Yeah, no worries.
So for me, this patch represents the most interesting and biggest leap in potential gameplay. Everything that's here in theory is incredible.
Yep.
But that's the problem I've never felt the growing pains. Okay, you said the whole year. Here we go. Whole year for me. When I started playing the game about 15 months ago, I was like, oh man, what's a bug? What's a feature? How do I get around this conundrum, right? And then you learn to make it work, and then you're playing and everything's happening. When this patch came out, it was like, skirt, stop everything. The growing pains have never been felt harder.
Yeah.
The inventory system is really cool in theory, and I like it, but I feel like this game is always either PvE or PvP or PvG. Mm-hmm. That's player verse game. Mm-hmm. And player verse game is more rampant in this patch than any other one. Me as a content creator and as an entertainer, I'm always trying to find the fun in everything, right? That's kind of look, life is hard, life is rough, life can really destroy you mentally and physically. And I like to try to be this like place where you can sit back, relax, have fun, share this common interest that we have, and explore the universe that is in this game and other games.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes something's not going well in the game, and I want to be like, all right, everybody, we're gonna go play drums. Here we go. Let's fly the ship. And I'll just like abandon my character in the ship, and I'll go play drums, which often part of my content loop. If you don't watch me, you should. But I play drums when the ship is in quantum all the time. But now that there are such heavy penalties on death, and that you just die randomly sometimes because of this, I end up wasting so much more time to get back to where I was because the game decided to kill me off for some reason, or because I lost all my inventory and whatnot. So I'm making choices not based on the quality of the entertainment of the show. I'm sometimes making choices on, oh my God, I don't want to go through inventory again. I don't want to have to hit I and spend 10 minutes trying to figure out why I can't put this armor on my body that's right there. Like, you feel it so much more now. And it's different when there is an audience there who is to be entertained by you and the game simultaneously.
Yeah.
It's not the same as if you're just alone in your home going, okay, double click. Nope. Okay, press I again, press I again. Okay, drag, drop. No, press I again. It's totally different when you're alone than when you're doing that on a camera with everybody.
Yeah.
So I love everything they've gotten here. Medical gameplay is fun when it works. Like just yesterday, I got thrown off one of those new grav bikes, and one of my mods, Michael, dragged me for 10 minutes to get me out of the green zone so he could revive me. And watching my body just like flap everywhere, it was like a CSI true life crime story, and it was funny and interesting, and it's like when those systems work, it's cool, and we get the hope for the better tomorrow. So all in all, I do like this patch. It's going to get better and better, but there's some rough times for new players getting into this game right now.
Yeah. To me, I'll speak on 315 a little bit here. To me, 315 represented the great slowing of the game, or at least the first version of that. And me and Starjump Ender, come from Arma 3, where we obviously have said many times before, we ran a pretty well-known milsim unit where we did very realistic tactical military operations in that game. And one of the things, if you played with our unit, you would quickly realize is that it was not fast-paced. There was moments where it was fast, but 90% of your time was slow, logistical, planning, pre-planning, infiltration, exfiltration, figuring out your safest route, because there was a real cost to dying in that game, a real cost. And medical scenarios in Arma 3, running the Ace 3 medical mod, which is very much Star Citizen's medical, is like a little bit of a light version of Ace 3 medical. But there were times where we got in scenarios in Arma 3 where a medical back and forth trying to get someone out of a zone was 20, 30 minutes of gameplay. You're dragging someone, and you would literally work on that person for 30 minutes to get them stable under fire. And it really slowed the game down, but it slowed the game down in a good way. And that's something Star Citizen has not had, is a slowing of the game. And I think this 315 was the patch that introduced the first slowing of the game. For example, your loot, you're not carrying all your stuff around with you anymore. So you can't just switch armor and here and there. There's going to be more of this that comes online in the future.
That.
Yeah. So for
example,
that
Tarkov style gameplay.
Yeah.
It's a game that I like a lot.
And as more of this niche stuff that coincides with this comes online, we're going to see more of that. So for example, CIG has always said that eventually you're not going to be able to wear a heavy armor suit and fly your arrow. It's not going to work. You're going to have to be in a light armor suit in order to fit in the cockpit properly. They've talked about this. So you're not going to be able to carry around 2 or 3 sets of armor and a light fighter. And all that's going to start to become a really, again, just more and more stuff to slow the game down. And ultimately, I think that's going to be good for the game, especially where the game, and we've had periods in the past where this was even a bigger issue, but things like pad ramming and just people being asses to be asses, shooting people just for no reason or willing to risk their own lives to kill someone, you're going to see that stuff pull back. Doesn't mean the universe shouldn't be dangerous. It should be dangerous. There should be forethought. If you're running 6,000 SCU of cargo, you should reach out to your friends to fly, combat support for you to protect you. But all that stuff is going to become much more thought out going forward. Yeah, so 315, again, a lot of content on that. We just did a show on that. Go check it out if you want. And I will say, I saw Bourbon say here, there's another Cat Medical system. Yeah, I'll have to check that out, Bourbon. We ran actually a custom version of Ace that I actually went in and customized a lot, so there was a lot more detail in our version of it. But yeah, I'll have to check that out. So the next thing we got that was big this year was the IAE event that always happens in November. Let me turn down the audio again. I don't know why all these videos have audio. Sorry, but IAE this year. Primarily, this is a show all about ships. They unveiled 3 new ships this year: the Anvil Spartan, the Argo Raft, and the Misk Odyssey. We won't talk too much about the Spartan, another ground vehicle, kind of interesting. Argo Raft, small, straight to flyable cargo ship, came in at a pretty cheap price. So I think that surprised everyone. But the big ship that got everyone talking was the Misk Odyssey, which I'll play a little bit of here. Actually, let me show an orbit of it. The Misk Odyssey. This is the Misk Odyssey from the Fleet Viewer project, by the way. So the Misk Odyssey, big exploration ship that combines some bits of mining and refining gameplay into that ship. I'm just going to hand it over real quick to all 3 of you. Just speak briefly about the IE event, how it was for you this year, and if there was one of those 3 ships that interested you in any way. Starjump Ender, thoughts on IAE? Anything that interested you from it?
IE, it was a beautiful show. I didn't really have anything that interested me heavily other than obviously the Ion and Inferno and Redeemer. I like the Odyssey, but I don't think it's my gameplay loop, so I'm going to leave that to other explorers.
Yep. But you did give one
Greenwater
away.
Griff.
You're probably one of the first
Yeah.
people to give one away. So.
A second, I believe, actually, if he's still in here, Griffin Gaming gave one away just before I did, if I'm not mistaken. Griffin, you can correct me on that if I'm wrong. I know mine was given away on the 11th, but they gave one away as well, which was great. But Greenwater Griff, how are you liking the idea of your Odyssey?
He's probably flying around his Carrick loner.
You can about guarantee he is.
Starlet, thoughts on IAE? Any of the 3 ships interest you in any way?
I was just catching up on CCUs and things for me, which was kind of busy. But I mean, there was a lot of controversy over the Odyssey. I wish CIG would allow us to unapply a CCU. If they would do that, then I could totally live with any kind of marketing and hype that they got into, and allow them to change the story later. That would be totally fine to so many people, I think, if we could just undo an application of a CCU. It doesn't seem like a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they look at that. I think they realized they stirred up a little bit of stuff with the way they went about the marketing speak on the Odyssey, so maybe we'll see a change there.
But it was a great show.
Yeah. Enterprise, IAE, any of the 3 ships grab your attention this year?
In terms of like new ships, like not really. I didn't have any like whoa, oh my god, I didn't really have any moment like that this year for it. But I will say that I think the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo is one of the best times for new players to get involved in this game.
Yeah. And
it's a really fun time to stream the game because anytime it goes free, you can squash those conversations with like, well, my i4593 on a Dell multiplex. I don't know if it'll play the game. Download it for free right now and check it out. Here's my link. Use my cheat code. Wink. Yeah. Like I do really like those times. And of course, it's free to play and you get to fly all these different ships. So coming from many other games, it's a great opportunity to like get someone in the door, give them all these different ships to try, and they're like, wait a minute, this is like a limited time convention hall that's built for right now, and then it closes. Like, my first one was last year, and I was blown away by it. I think I streamed every day of it last year, and I posted photos of me, like my character, in front of the marquee every day. This year, I did not stream every day of it because I think if you've seen it all once, it's not that much different year to year.
Yeah.
I did love the Jax videos a lot. Those were really fresh and really fun. Something that I missed from this year's event was, I know this is not intentional, but I kind of liked last year when the elevators kept breaking because we had these carpool situations. Everyone was carpooling in like ground vehicles to drive from the spaceport over to the expo hall because the elevators would not spawn multiple days during last year's event. I kind of missed that little caravan situation that we had going on last year. So maybe bring that back for me, just like for one day.
Yeah.
You could put a sign that says like Enterprise out of order or something.
Yeah.
Private filming. I don't know.
Well, I had I really enjoyed IAE this year. I actually really enjoyed the reveal of the Argo Raft. I thought it was really cool. I know me and Starlet specifically, along with Execute from Inforunners, did a lot of kind of figuring out a lot of math behind the Argo Raft and its possible link to the 32 SCU standard cargo boxes, which we kind of figured out before CIG kind of announced that was the case, and specifically how that ties in with the Hull C. That was interesting to hear. I'll be really excited to see that cargo refactor come online to where those 32 SCU boxes really become the new mainstay in Star Citizen. So that was pretty exciting just from a cargo refactor standpoint. It wasn't so much the ship itself, more than just the cargo refactor link. As everyone knows, I'm really excited about that coming online in 3.15. I thought the Odyssey was really cool. I'm big exploration nut. I love the Carrack. I agree with Starlet. The Carrack Q&A that came up painfully late after IAE really helped kind of bring the Odyssey Q&A really kind of brought the Odyssey back down to, I thought, a good place. It made it into what I think it's a great ship, a great exploration ship, very self-sufficient exploration ship, but not necessarily the Carrack killer they advertised it to be, and that's okay. I mean, I think it's okay for ships just to not always have to one-up each other. It's okay. And I think the Argo Raft was actually that. I think it was a cargo ship that came out that didn't one-up any cargo ships. It maybe only one-upped them in price, maybe. But again, it's a cool ship, and it fills a little role in the Star Citizen pantheon of ships, but they don't always have to one-up each other. So that was IAE. Let's see here. I'm going to kind of move on. Last but certainly not least, and we won't talk on this too much because we don't have all the details of it, and that is 3.16. That is the patch we'll be getting pretty soon. We know we're going to get the Area 18 hospital. We're going to get... we're going to be getting a derelict spaceship points of interest. We're going to be getting the Dying Star map update, Gravlev physics rework, which I think is kind of the big thing, as well as Starjump Town. Jump Town 2.0. It should be Starjump Town, damn it. That'd be really good. As well as the laser trip mine. We won't comment too much on 3.16 other than to say that it's kind of a light patch. There's not a lot in it. I think the Gravlev rework is a good thing, and maybe we all have a little point to say about it, but it was interesting to see how the Gravlev rework was kind of like a little passion project from a single dev. It sounds like they kind of put that together. Anyone have anything to say about 3.16 before we move on? Enterprise?
Yeah, I'm really invested in the new Gravlev tech. They're some of my favorite vehicles in the game because they're small, fast, agile, and again, it's the only way to have carrier gameplay right now is small ships like that. And again, for new players, they're inexpensive to buy, especially in game. You can get them, zip around. So making them better, I think, is a huge benefit to the game. And I've been testing each day in the PTU. And the first 2 days were really rough. You just insta explode. You just like walk out the door and like boom, you're gone. Like like there was no surviving the first few iterations. But today I went on a tear on a planet, purposely hitting things in a Nox, and I wasn't dying. I was almost invincible.
Oh,
it
nice.
was insanely cool. So I'm into their Gravlev tech. It also looks and just feels really good. Like it turns now and you get those Star Warsian feelings, you know. So
Very
they're
cool.
doing a great job with that right now. I'm into it.
Awesome. Well, everyone, stay tuned for that. Now, before we wrap the show up, I just wanted to get some brief kind of 1 to 2 thoughts on what each host is wanting from 2022 from CIG. We won't go too in depth on it because I know the show is running a little long, which is okay. But I do have to travel pretty early in the morning. So we're going to start with Starjump Ender. Starjump Ender, you got any big hopes for 2022? Anything specifically you want to see?
I'd like to see a little bit more come online for the exploration gameplay, but also things like data running. Just more gameplay loops that we don't currently have. And
Yeah.
server meshing would be nice, but I'll hold out hope for that next year.
Cool. Starlet, 2022.
Server meshing, and so we can get some numbers on the server, and we can get some NPCs that actually respond, and ships that actually respond a bit faster. And perhaps some gameplay that's not focused on combat would be lovely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Enterprise 2022. What are your hopes?
I have really 2 main ones. One is quality of life fixes for current things that we have in the game, like the ability to make some save loadouts for our characters, maybe some ability to insta-buy full armor sets that are prefabricated by different manufacturers, just like little ways to save time as the game is starting to take more and more of our time away from playing the game. It's more planning to play the game. So give me some little workarounds for that. And then the other thing is what Ender said, some more game loops specifically for the ships that don't have a purpose to exist yet. Like giving us a few more of those mission types for those ships that we can't really utilize yet. There's so many choices as to what that could be, but that's what I want. More uses for the ships we have currently in the game, not necessarily more new ships that don't have the role in the game.
Definitely can agree with that. For myself, I'm really holding out hope for Pyro and server meshing to come on board with patch 4.0 sometime at the end of next year. And the other big thing I'm hoping for next year is the Corsair's imminent release, hopefully in Q3 next year. I think it's kind of where it's tracking on the progress tracker. Corsair is definitely one of my ships that I feel like is going to be my day-to-day, so that is what I'm looking for. Looking forward to. And the very last thing I wanted to bring up here before I do that, actually, real quick, Enterprise, thank you so much for coming on this episode of Starjump Station. We loved having you and want to get you on a future episode. But appreciate you taking time away from your own channel to come over here, bring your community over here, and talk Star Citizen with us. So we salute you. Really appreciate you come on board. All the Starjump community, definitely go give Enterprise channel a check out if you haven't. I'm sure you all have, though. But definitely go over there and give him all the Starjump love and support. Last but not least, I'll leave you with one thing before we raid somebody, and I am going to show off. Let's see here. I know there was some new emotes requested, and I'll show off the 2 new emotes that are going to be added to both Ender and this channel here momentarily. Well, probably for the next episode. But here they are, the ball-headed Ender and the Starlet emotes. I'll make sure I get those in the channel and working good. I wanted to give Ender's ball-headed an extra shine. I wasn't able to get to that, but we'll make it happen.
Looks like mine. Nice.
Yes. All right, we are going to we're actually going to raid someone who could use some viewers tonight. They've only got about 10 people, so I thought it'd be good to send some people their way if that's okay. Andrew, I did just see your suggestion. Definitely, let's do that one next time to return some love. I want to give a little bit of a shout out to a Star Citizen streamer now. But again, everyone, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I am going to go ahead and choose a channel to raid real quick. We're going to raid Kimmy65. Again, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. This is our last episode of the year. We'll be back at the beginning of January for a new episode and probably a bigger update on the Starjump Fleet Viewer project and really show maybe some progress on that end. Everyone, the support who came on board with follows and all that good stuff, thank you so much. Don't forget to go over to Ender's channel and give him the same love and support and follows. We're going to go ahead and raid Kimmy now. Thanks everyone. And yeah. We'll talk to you soon.
Holiday.
Yeah. Have a happy holiday, everyone. Thanks, everybody.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.